Votre appel, s'il vous plaît, Madame le greffier.
Monsieur le sénateur Gorst.
Présent.
Monsieur le sénateur Farnham.
Présent.
Madame le sénateur Ferguson. Monsieur le sénateur Lefondre.
Présent.
Madame le sénateur Valois.
Present.
Madame le sénateur Moore.
Present.
Monsieur le sénateur Pallet. Monsieur le sénateur Mezek.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Hélier. Madame le connétable de Saint-Laurent.
Present.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Brelard.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Grouville.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de la Trinité.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Pierre.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Sainte-Marie. Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Ouen. Madame le connétable de Saint-Martin.
Present.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Jean.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Saint-Clément.
Présent.
Madame le député Martin.
Present.
Monsieur le député Southern. Madame le député de Grouville. Monsieur le député Lewis.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Tadier. Monsieur le député Higgins.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Masson. Madame le député,
Présent.
Madame le député Pinel.
Present.
Monsieur le député de Saint-Martin. Monsieur le député de Saint-Ouen.
Présent.
Madame le député Dublé.
Present.
Monsieur le député Labbé.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Wickenden.
Présent.
Monsieur le député de Saint-Marie.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Truscott.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Young.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Ash.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Morel.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Guida. Monsieur le député de Saint-Pierre. Monsieur le député de la Trinité. Monsieur le député de Saint-Jean. Madame le député Lehegara.
Present.
Monsieur le député Ayer.
Présent.
Madame le député Pershar.
Present.
Monsieur le député Ward.
Présent.
Madame le député Alves. Monsieur le député Pamplin.
Présent.
Madame le député Gardner.
Monsieur le doyen.
Notre aide soit au nom de Dieu qui a fait le ciel et la terre. Amen. Seigneur Dieu, Père éternel et tout-puissant, qui a établi le gouvernement et les puissances de la terre, pour le règlement et pour la conduite du peuple, et qui nous a commandé d'avoir toujours pour but la gloire de ton saint nom. Nous te prions qu'il te plaise de donner à cette assemblée le don de conseil et de prudence, d'unir les cœurs et les affections de tous ceux qui la composent, et de les conduire tellement toi-même par ton Saint-Esprit, que toute leur délibération étant accompagnée de ta bénédiction, réussisse au bien et au soulagement du peuple qui de plus de commettra le soin. Car nous t'en prions au nom et par le mérite de ton Fils bien-aimé Jésus-Christ, notre Seigneur, qui nous a enseigné de t'invoquer en disant: Notre Père, qui es aux cieux, ton nom soit sanctifié, ton règne vienne, ta volonté soit faite en la terre comme au ciel. Donne-nous aujourd'hui notre pain quotidien, et nous pardonne nos offenses, comme nous pardonnons à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Et ne nous induis point en tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal. Car toi, le règne, la puissance et la gloire, au siècle des siècles. Amen. Madame le sénateur Ferguson.
Was Senator Ferguson listed for the link? Excusez.
Monsieur le sénateur Pallet.
Raison.
Monsieur le sénateur Pallet.
Présent.
Monsieur le connétable de Sainte-Marie.
Présent.
Monsieur le député Southern. Madame le député de Grouville.
Mallard.
Vous jurez que Madame le député de Grouville est tellement indisposée qu'elle ne peut pas assister aux États sans exposer sa santé. Monsieur le député Tadier.
Présent.
Monsieur le député de la Trinité. Monsieur le député de Saint-Jean.
Présent.
Madame le député Alves.
Présente.
Madame le député Gardner.
Présente.
Les États sont constitués. On behalf of members, I would like to welcome His Excellency, the Lieutenant Governor, to the Chamber this morning. And if I might remind members that there is the usual end-of-term photograph, I think at lunchtime on Wednesday. For those who are not familiar with it, when we come to the end of a term, then normally those who are not standing again will group in the middle and everyone else will be grouped around the outside, and so there will be a permanent record. So if people could remember that. Members will, I know, have been saddened to have heard of the news that our friend and colleague, the Connétable of St. Saviour, Say de la Sueur Renard, passed away suddenly on the 8th of April. Many people have commented on what a unique and special person she was, and I'm sure that all members will have their own particular memories of time spent with her. But it's fitting that we pay tribute to her in the chamber this morning, where she has sat as the Connétable of her beloved St. Saviour since 2011. She was born on the 9th of September 1945 at Clerval Farm, St. Saviour, to her parents Eileen and Jacques Le Sueur, both dairy farmers. She had a varied range of jobs in her career, working as a cosmetics consultant for Dior and Chanel, and for Channel Airways, as well as being known as the good wife at Hampton for many years. But her main career was organic dairy farming, and her affection for her herd, or her girls, as she called them, and indeed for the farm where she was born and which she continued to run right up to her sudden death, was her true passion. She was, as many may know, a country music fan, and undertook an annual pilgrimage to Nashville, having been made an honorary citizen of Tennessee and given the keys to the city of Phoenix in 1974. She was a stalwart of the island's drama scene, appearing in many shows across the years, particularly in Christmas pantomimes. But her rendition of Beautiful Jersey in both Guerrier and English was one of the highlights of every Liberation Day until she retired in 2015, although she could be persuaded to give an impromptu performance when the need arose, such as when she supported those campaigning against the use of People's Park for the new hospital, or when she was a delegate at the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentary Association conference in the Falklands in early 2020. She was the first female states member to give a Liberation Day speech in May 2016 for the 71st anniversary, recalling for us all stories of her parents' occupation experiences. She was, as we all know, extremely passionate about her parish, its people, and the island. She fought to prevent the loss of our island's traditions and was an ardent supporter of both the Jersey language and agricultural heritage. Her contributions to debates in the Assembly were always memorable, her style inimitable, and the content, or indeed the way of addressing the presiding officer, were not always in line with standing orders, or indeed parliamentary. On one occasion, her use of a Guerrier phrase was simply recorded in Hansard as Guerrier spoken, because its translation was too colourful to be included. But her passion, drive, and energy shone through, and one of her final acts in this chamber was to ensure green fields were not rezoned in her beloved St. Saviour during the recent Bridging Island Plan debate. She leaves behind her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, her brother, and her girls, of course, and dog Jackson. And our thoughts are with the whole family at this sad time. As she might herself have said, merci bien des faits, à la prochaine. I would ask members to stand for a minute's silence in her memory. May she rest in peace. There are a number of subordinate enactments tabled under B. Under C, a number of matters have been presented or laid as described in the consolidated order paper. And under D, the following matters have been lodged. Draft Planning and Building Amendment number 8, Jersey Law P76. Second Amendment lodged by the Minister for the Environment. Draft Official and Analyst Jersey Law P41 Amendment lodged by the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel. Draft Regulation of Care Standards and Requirements Jersey Regulations P46 Amendment lodged by the Minister for the Environment. Revised Code of Practice for Engagement between Scrutiny Panels and the Public Accounts Committee and the Executive P50 Amendment lodged by Senator Valois. Ministerial Responsibilities Amendment P52 lodged by the Council of Ministers. Draft Sanctions and Asset Freezing Amendment number 2 Jersey Law Amendment P53 lodged by the Minister for External Relations and Financial Services. After Paolido P61 Amendment lodged by the Minister for Infrastructure. Accommodation for Temporary Workers P62 Amendment lodged by Deputy Hewlin. Amendment to Standing Orders Machinery of Government Subcommittee Amendment P64 lodged by the Council of Ministers. Monitoring of Arm's Length Organisations and Green and White Papers Amendment P65 lodged by the Council of Ministers. GST on Menstrual Sanitary Products P66 Amendment lodged by the Minister for Treasury and Resources. Draft Domestic Abuse Jersey Law P69 Amendment lodged by the Minister for Home Affairs. Draft Domestic Abuse Jersey Law P69 Second Amendment lodged by Senator Valois. Parishes Green Waste P73 Amendment lodged by the Minister for Infrastructure. Carbon Neutral Roadmap P74 Amendment lodged by the Environment, Housing and Infrastructure Scrutiny Panel. Carbon Neutral Roadmap P74 Amendment lodged by the Minister for the Environment. Carbon Neutral Roadmap P74 Second Amendment lodged by Deputy Ward. Under E, in accordance with Standing Order 34.1, the following propositions have been withdrawn. Draft Probate Amendment to Jersey Law P42, which had been lodged by the Chief Minister. Millennium Town Park Government Support for Extension, P67, lodged by the Connétable St Helier. Draft Domestic Abuse Jersey Law P69, Second Amendment, lodged by Senator Valois. There is nothing under F, G, H. We come to I, which are questions. A number of written questions have been lodged and answers filed in response. We now come to oral questions. And the first question will be asked by Deputy Southern of the Minister for Health and Social Services.
Sir.
Yes, Commissar.
So, in terms of written questions, question 112/2022, I received a revised answer on the 22nd of April, but it hasn't been published or circulated to members, sir.
Yes. Well, in which case, obviously, that clearly, if it's a revised answer to a written question, it should be published and circulated in the normal way.
Thank you.
Deputy Southern.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister provide the rationale behind the decision to reduce the subsidy for the community alarm system that is being made available to the majority of users of such preventative devices?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The new telecare system has been commissioned to replace the existing system, which is now out of contract, no longer in production, and becoming increasingly difficult to source spare parts for. In addition, the existing system has very limited functionality, providing only a call bell provision. The new telecare offer provides or has much greater functionality and can be expanded to include many products if needed or wanted by the recipient. It also uses the latest technologies and is not dependent on landline capability alone. Telecare is one of the services that enables islanders to remain at home if that is their choice. And with greater functionality, the new service will be able to support more people. Where individuals have been assessed and require the system as part of their care package, this remains the same. It is fully funded and there is no cost for the telecare offer. But where people privately hired the old system as a matter of choice, they currently pay, and it was recognised that an increase in costs at the changeover could be difficult for some. With this in mind, and as HCS had to change the system, we decided to subsidise the change with a gradual reduction in subsidy over 2 years. The first year being fully subsidised, giving individuals the opportunity to prepare for the change or make other arrangements if they choose. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. And what's missing from that statement is any idea of the real cost. So does the Minister agree that the real cost of this service to those who volunteer to help the department out by providing that facility to have care in the home is an extra £150 a year? Could the Minister state whether he thinks that is reasonable to pay for a service which is part of the care model, which enables people to have proper care in their homes?
Minister.
So, sir, as I have said, for those for whom this is an essential part of their care package, that service is provided free of charge. But there are many such call alarms commercially available. When the government entered into this contract, it chose also to make its service available to other customers who may wish to make use of it, and that has happened for many years. But of course there are increasing costs here to move from an analogue to a digital system. With new technology often comes greater cost, which we all experience with our own mobile contracts. So, sir, the subsidy itself, the first year remains at its present rate of £10.50, the fixed monthly charge, including GST. That's going to rise in a year's time to £14, and by 1st of July 2025, it will be £21. So that's over the next 3 years, a rise for those who are asked to pay of £11 a month. But as I've said, so it's the marketplace, there are other services available for those who might wish to avail of them. Thank you.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, given the significant spend on IT development and digital development by Jersey's government, is it really necessary to pass on these, which are relatively small costs for the government, but significant for individuals? And would it not be best to just take on this charge? Thank you.
Well, I suppose so we could take on this charge. There are many things I would like to do and just provide free at the point of use, but of course there's always a cost to these things. So if health was to provide this service free of charge, then something else in the health budget would have to give. So it's always a case of balance, and I do stress, sir, that those who are deemed to need this service as part of their care package get it absolutely free. Others can join the package, but there are multiple packages for them to choose from on the market. They'll be paying for others. If they're not at a point of needing it as part of a care package, I think it's right that they should make this contribution. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy?
Yes, thank you, sir. So may I ask the Minister, given that the care model relies really heavily on preventative, and which is quite right, is this not exactly the type of thing that should be in paid for, to prevent problems over the longer term? And what other areas of digital investment will mean other things being lost from our health service if that is the model behind this? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. This does provide a good preventative measure, sir, this is a subsidy that has been introduced by HCS. It's not one that has been reduced because we had not previously offered any subsidy to private users of this who chose to take advantage of it. So it's just a recognition that over the next 3 years we will gradually ease in and give users assistance with that charge. I'm not aware, in response to the latter part of the question, of any other services affected, sir. Thank you.
Senator Mesick?
Thank you, sir. Is this an example of the sort of extension of user-pay services which we might anticipate to see more of under the Jersey Care model?
Well, it's precisely not any sort of extension, sir. There's no policy change here. Those who need the service receive it free. Those who choose to use it are asked to make a charge. They're now getting a far better enhanced product, and the charge is being subsidised for the first 3 years.
Supplemental?
So this was something that those who have benefited from it in the past will now pay more for. Does the Minister accept that that will inevitably mean fewer people will use this kind of service and will instead risk becoming a greater burden on other parts of the health system, which will need to be funded in some other way? And on that basis, does he not consider this move to be completely short-sighted?
No, I don't accept that, sir, at all. The existing method of providing a service is continuing. There's no policy change here. And in fact, this product, this service, could well be attractive to many more people. Service users can add all sorts of services to monitor their health and well-being. It will be attractive to families as well who don't live with their loved ones. So what devices that can be added include fall sensors, motion sensors, pill dispensers, devices report on activities for daily living. For example, a smart plug on a kettle could send an alert to a family member using an app which comes with the device if the kettle has not been used for a period of time. So very significant enhancements which point the way towards improved preventative services in the future. Thank you, sir.
Final supplemental question, Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. So these particular vulnerable people are asked to subscribe to a system which will support them to retain their independence for longer, better monitor their health and well-being, as well as help to reduce the amount of support they may need at home. This is totally in line with the overall policy of the care model. And yet, come 2025, this group of people will be paying twice the amount for this service than they otherwise would be to match the Jersey Care model. Does the Minister really think that this is fair and not a burden on these particular people who are helping him deliver a service to people's homes, which is in line with the policy?
So, as I have said during this time of questioning, and will repeat, that those who require the service as part of their care package will continue to receive it free of charge. Those who choose to purchase this service because they make a choice amongst all other devices and services available, will be asked to pay the appropriate charge because, as we know, this digital technology does incur charges, but the benefits it brings will be of use. But where there's an absolute need, that is met entirely by HCS. Thank you, sir.
Very well. We come to question 2 that Senator Mezek will ask of the Chief Minister. Senator.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister state whether it's his assessment that the current government has achieved the aim set out in the Common Strategic Policy to reduce levels of people living in relative low income?
Chief Minister.
Yes, thank you, sir. I am pleased, sir, with the progress that's been made towards this objective since 2018. We recognise that more work will always be needed to assist those on lowest incomes, particularly during the current wave of inflationary pressure, but we have taken some tangible steps towards assisting vulnerable islanders over the last 4 years. And I'm going to give a few examples, if that's okay, sir. I think starting at the very top, we are presently showing the lowest level of unemployment in the last decade. And that is, well, sir, if you're not unemployed, you're earning more money, sir. Therefore, you have improved the situation of that individual. And therefore, we've got to celebrate that. That is one of the best things that we've had in the last decade. And that's after the pandemic. Bear in mind that during the pandemic, we went up to something like 2,290 actively seeking work. Now we're down at something like 720. That's a massive improvement. We've steadily increased the minimum wage rate by 23%. That's 3 times faster than inflation, and we're now at the target of 45% of mean wages. The first child component income support has increased by £17.50 a week. That's up 26% from June 2018. We've frozen rents across Andean properties. That's with the support of housing ministers, plural, but obviously with my support as well, sir, as no doubt the questioner will remember. And we've reduced the Social Security rent cap to 80%. As I said, we've increased the first child component of income support, and most recently, sir, the Minister for Social Security has agreed a special payment of £20 a month for all islanders on a means-tested benefit to provide targeted support during the current inflationary pressures. And we've made it very clear, sir, that that's such a first step. That's something we get in place, and depending on the nature of the household, that can be up to £80 a month for that household. So we have not sat down and twiddled our thumbs. We've not done and made the poor poorer, sir. We have actually set and targeted all the efforts that we could do, and I hope that is recognised. That's not saying we can't do more, but that is saying, sir, we have actually made some tangible benefits to those individuals. Thank you, sir.
Close. Thank you. Senator Mezek, supplemental.
Thank you, sir. And with all of that contained in the Chief Minister's answer, is it the case, therefore, that he is expecting the household survey results to come through and demonstrate that there are lower levels of relative low income in Jersey than at the previous survey, or is it likely to be the case that, in fact, that survey will show the opposite?
Sir, I genuinely don't know what those numbers are going to look like, as we've all expressed our disappointment, but understanding of the reason that's the data that I committed to. We funded, but COVID came along. We funded the study, and COVID came along and basically disrupted the whole collection of data, which is why we are now setting that study going again, or it is going again, and it will be in place at a high level for the next Council of Ministers to see what other changes they need to make. We have to remember that will be over a period of time, and so the data that the Senator is referring to will be before the significant change in cost of living that's happened in the last few months, partially, for example, because of the war in Ukraine and things like that. I think the other point, sir, which we do need to remember, is the issues around relative low income, but there's also the point that actually, for example, we've given better and far more reaching access to things like dental treatment, to GP access. That's improved the lives of, I think, 11,000 individuals. That won't show as an improvement in income because actually it's taking it off their expenditure side. And that we need to recognise as well, sir. But I think we have actually made some very tangible changes. There's always more we can do, but compared to when we first came in, there have been improvements, sir.
Deputy Sutherland.
Yes, sir. Is it not the case, Minister, Chief Minister, that we do actually have the preliminary numbers attached to the pre-pandemic condition of our workforce and our incomes? And when is he going to produce produce that, and will it be before the election?
Don't think I actually understand the question from the start point, sir. If it's being produced by the Statistics Department, sir, and the Chief Statistician, that's under their control, sir. And he's obviously better informed than I am.
Supplemental, Deputy Sutton?
Is it not the case that he has requested the census figures before taking priority over the income distribution survey?
So, number one, that's basically inferring that I've interfered and therefore broken the law, sir, in the operation of the Chief Statistician and his department. And I hope, sir, the Deputy will withdraw that suggestion, because that would imply, sir, I've overridden my powers as a Chief Minister. I have therefore we've absolutely respected the independence of the Chief Statistician, and I think the Deputy should know that, and I think he's being somewhat mischievous.
Deputy
And for the avoidance of doubt, sir, no.
Deputy Taddy?
Thank you, sir. Would the Chief Minister give his statistics on the use of food banks during his tenure as to whether they've gone up, whether he has that information?
No, sir, I don't have that information, sir. And obviously the information is not generated internally within the government, sir.
So the Chief Minister can reel off statistics that he thinks supports the claim that under his government things have got better, yet surely one of the key indicators of poverty and relative poverty in Jersey is the use of food banks, which the media certainly has been telling us has been going up in recent years. Is that not something that the Chief Minister is interested in finding out about statistically and learning about the people who lie behind those statistics?
So my understanding is that the statistics themselves are produced by the providers of the food banks, and therefore that is all under their control, sir. It is something that I think would be of interest, and I'm sure, sir, that will be revealed when the full surveys are produced.
Final supplementary, Senator Mezek.
Sir, does the Chief Minister, and this follows on from what Deputy Tadyer has just asked, it is clearly a fact that the use of food banks has gone up in this term of office from the already too high level that it was at the start of this term of office. Does the Chief Minister not regard that as being a key indicator of relative low income in Jersey? Because if people can't afford to feed themselves and the numbers of those people are growing, then that does constitute clear evidence that levels of relative low income have gone up during his term of office and not gone down.
Sir, as with anything, the figures, these type of figures, we need to understand. We need to understand the rationale behind it, particularly bear in mind we have been through a pandemic. But as I make the point, sir, we have taken a vast number of steps to significantly support individuals and improve their livelihoods, for want of a better expression, during those 4 years. As I've said, sir, the fact, for example, minimum wage has gone up by 23%, the fact that, for example, we've assisted about 11,000 individuals to have free, either free or much subsidised GP access, is something to be applauded. I did not say, sir, that we were in a perfect world, but I said things have improved in the last 4 years, and that should be something we should be proud of as an Assembly, because various members have contributed to that. And as I've said, sir, unemployment is at the lowest level for a decade, sir.
Well, we come to question 3. The Deputy Ward will ask the Minister for Social Security. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, given the assessment for long-term incapacity benefit takes into account how the disability in question affects the person's state of mind, their ability to care for themselves and their ability to get about, will the Minister advise how these components are weighted in the final assessment of benefit need? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The long-term incapacity allowance is awarded based on percentage of a person's loss of faculty. This is based on an assessment by a specialist medical doctor who compares the loss of faculty with a person of the same sex and age who does not have any loss of faculty. The weighting of the individual factors in the final assessment is a clinical decision taken by the doctor.
Supplemental, Deputy Ward.
Yes, thank you, sir. So I asked the Minister, there is one question in the application regarding mental capacity. Does the Minister believe it is adequate to understand the real needs and challenges faced by applicants?
Well, I'm not sure if the doctor, if the deputy is reading the income report, the incapacity award, long-term incapacity or long-term sick, but both of them are covered by R189 2021. It says that this the LTI assessment method and the work is underway, and it needs to look at how they are assessed. That's the next big job for the new Minister of Social Security. I'm not disagreeing. It is work ongoing.
Sorry, sir, can I just ask,
Well,
so does the Minister think that is, I just didn't understand really whether the answer to that question, whether that's adequate or not. Is she saying it isn't adequate because it's being assessed? Just for clarity, sir, sorry.
can you clarify that further? I only asked because there are no other members wishing to ask questions.
I said I'm not, sorry, I'm not disagreeing with the deputy, sir. I'm saying it's under review. There's a report, P189. I did a presentation to all states members, a separate one to scrutiny. Don't know if the deputy attended, but it's all under review, especially the assessment of how it is assessed. So, and that's for the next minister to do. I hope that helps the deputy.
Thank you very much. Deputy Sutton.
Yes, sir. Is it not the case that whilst the long-term incapacity is assessed by doctors, the clinical component for those receiving income support who have a disability is also defined by reference to officers and not doctors, and therefore confuses the image as to who has incapacity, who has that disability, and who doesn't?
Minister.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, your deputy is now asking about a different assessment under income support on that form. That both of the assessments are able to be asked for a redeterminant under 21 days. But definitely the LTI, what the deputy knows, he did attend actually the a presentation and asked some very pertinent questions, and knows it's not fit for purpose, and it literally does need changing. It's a very, very old law.
Supplemental, Deputy Sutton.
And does that not especially refer to mental capacity, where there are only a few questions on the overall assessment sheet, and that this is assessed by an officer? And when is she going to get round to actually changing some of this?
Again, you're asking about a different form, a different incapacity benefit, and that one is not being looked at. The one that's being looked at that the deputy's read in R18921 is the long-term incapacity and the short-term incapacity, etc., etc. But, you know, that one is done by officers that can, I think, be reviewed by a doctor.
Well, final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. The question was about long-term incapacity, sir, just remind the Minister. So given the increase in mental health issues following, in particular, COVID, it's been recognised in our society, is it not important to increase the emphasis on this area of assessment? And also with the recognition, sir, of things like post-traumatic stress disorder and so on, and now greater understanding of these issues for people long-term. And ask the Minister to really, will she be urging those areas to be looked at in much more detail? Thank you, sir.
So I don't know how many times I can say the whole of the LTIA, how it's assessed, etc., is a recommendation in R189. It's very, very many years old, and it will be done. It's a big job for the next minister. It will be in my handover recommendation, and it's being worked on as we speak by officers while we're running around trying to get re-elected, sir. Thank you.
Well, we come to question 4. The Deputy Truscott will ask the Minister for Housing and Communities. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Further to the government-backed project to repair the balcony floor plates in the Lekenove Park flats, will the Minister provide a progress report and an indication of when the works will be completed?
Sir, members will remember approving a loan scheme to assist some of the owners of these apartments with advancing the money for the much-needed repairs. But the state is not involved with the administration of the repair contracts. That's down to the Property Management Agency. The public is still the co-owner of some of the apartments, so Property Holdings take an interest and are informed by the property management company of how the works are progressing. Deputy Truscott might have seen the scaffolding having gone up on Block A, which is the block they're going to start with. There are 8 blocks in all. Survey work is being undertaken now. I don't think the physical construction and replacement of the balconies has begun yet. But when that does begin, systematically they will go through the 8 blocks A to H, and the works will take 2 years. I did speak to the property management agency last night when I got in and asked if they were able to retain the contractor that they had in place when we were having the debate about the loan scheme, and they were able to do that, which is good news. And I also asked if the loan scheme that members approved, how that had helped, and the answer was it had helped enormously, and that is why they were able to progress. I hope that satisfies the Deputy.
Supplemental question?
Yes, thank you, sir, and I thank the Minister for his answer. So I'm sure the Minister is aware that a number of local building projects have been severely impacted by inflation. Could the Minister confirm that this project is expected to be delivered within the originally agreed price?
I don't have information on that, but I don't have information to the contrary either. I mean, the works were scheduled to begin Block A mid-October 2021 to mid-February 2022, with the final block being mid-July 2023 to mid-November 2023. So we know that that schedule has been delayed, because it is quite hard to get construction work and builders in. You've got to take your place in the queue. So I believe that the delay is nothing more sinister than that.
Deputy Tidier.
Thank you, sir. Can I thank my fellow deputy for raising this issue? It's important to the 96 flats that are there, even if they don't all have balconies. Could the Minister give us an update, preferably now, but if he doesn't have the information, could he circulate it about the uptake of the loan scheme, about how many people have asked for a loan and what the nature of the loan was, whether it was capital repayment or interest only? I think that would be really helpful in knowing some of the circumstances that these individuals are in, because some have told us, as he knows, prior to the debate, that they would have trouble paying back the loans.
Yes, I can get the information for the Deputy. I think that's better done privately, and I will email him.
Supplemental question?
Yes, sir. It doesn't need to be done private. I think this is public money which is being given out. I don't think there's any secrecy about the uptake. It would be good for all states members, I think, to know what the uptake of the loan is. We don't need any private details of any of the individuals. So is that okay with the Minister?
Yes, it is. I mean, I do understand from my conversation last night that the loans are all in place. The required loans are in all place, but I'll get the breakdown for the Deputy.
Conatable St Brelard.
Thank you, sir. Walking around the area on Friday, I noticed that there was a significant amount of builders' equipment laid out in one of the blocks. Will the Minister agree that it's all very well for the work to be done for the flats that need it, but for those who don't need it, the outlook is not very aesthetic? Would he agree that he will put pressure on the contractors to move the job on as quickly as possible? Thank you, sir.
Well, I think that's a job for the Minister for Infrastructure, who is in the chamber and listening.
Supplemental, Conatable?
Thank you, sir. I'll take that up with the Ministers for Infrastructure. Thank you.
Very much indeed. Final supplementary question, Deputy Truscott.
Thank you, sir. If the cost of the project due to inflation has risen, could the Minister indicate which party would be expected to absorb the additional cost involved, the taxpayer or the flat owners? Thank you, sir.
I don't have that information. That's a question for Treasury or Infrastructure, and we can find that out for the Deputy.
Very well. Come to question 5 that Deputy Morell will ask of the same Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Following the information revealed by the 2021 census that there are 4,000 empty properties in Jersey, will the Minister advise the Assembly what measures, if any, he is taking to ensure that as many of these properties as possible are quickly made available for residential use?
So work is already underway by my team to identify the best ways to get empty properties back into the housing market. As we have an acute shortage of housing, it's absolutely essential. I pledged to start this work in Q1 22, and that's begun by the new Housing Strategy and Regeneration team. A word on the census figures, 3,123 empty homes in 2011, gone up to 4,000 in this census. We don't have the breakdown yet, and that is undertaken by enumerators personally. They chase up all the empty properties as best they can. They were able to identify in 2011 50% of them, the reasons why 50% of them were empty, and that work is being done on the 4,000 in the current census, and that figure will probably be available at the end of June, beginning of July. But it is worth noting that I think 50% of those empty properties in the 2011 census were for legitimate reasons in terms of being between occupancy, in terms of being between tenancies or sales. That was about 29%, and 23% I think was holiday homes. And of course the census is taken in March, before the holiday home business kicks off. So we've just got to be careful about how we interpret the figures.
Supplemental question, Deborah?
Please, sir. Thank you, and I thank the Minister for his answer. Even if only 25% of those homes were to be available, or to be made available, that would be 1,000 homes out of 7,000. That's a considerable use. Would the Minister please advise perhaps a bit more specifically, is the property register that the states voted for a couple of years ago, a register of all properties in Jersey, is that something that would make this task easier to understand? And if so, could he provide the Assembly with an update as to where we are with that property register?
Yes, I think it can only help the property register. Of course, what we want to capture are those properties that have been laying empty for years. We've all seen them. Some have been laying empty for decades. It's unbelievable. Others, a shorter time span. But we need to capture those properties. So we are now in discussion with the parishes, with the constables, with Her Majesty's Receiver General, because there are powers for the Receiver General to do that. Obviously, I think the law is going to need an update to be more fit for purpose in terms of reclaiming these properties, some of which they can't trace the owners of. That is the problem. After the death of the owner that we knew, they can't find anybody that is in the family. But we must find a way to bring those properties back into use. And if somebody down the line does turn up and say, I'm the relative, that there is an agreed figure that that is payable. But we've got to bring them back into use, and there are ways to do it.
Senator Mezek.
Thank you, sir. Can the Minister inform the Assembly how many of these 4,000 empty properties in Jersey are owned by the government or its arm's length organisations?
Very few, but I don't have those figures in my head. Obviously, we've seen some of the government properties that are empty. It's not a good example. Some of those are part of schemes which haven't yet, come to fruition, part of a much, much bigger picture, I think, of La Folly Inn and the little apartments behind that. But government is behind the curve on this. Other jurisdictions in the UK, for example, district and borough councils, county councils, use a scheme called No Use Empty, which has considerable powers. After exhaustive consultation with a landowner or a property owner, if that comes to nothing, that agency is entitled to enter the property, to redecorate it, refurbish it, let it out, take the rent, until such time as that's been paid off. Now, I'm not suggesting anything is draconian quite yet for Jersey. I don't think it's ready for it. But there must be a Jersey version of No Use Empty, and that's what I'm exploring, a way to do that. I'd like it not to be a government agency, but a trust, because I think a trust might get more goodwill, cheaper rates, mates rates, and there's there's ways. Say we could use some of the £250,000 that's allocated this year for the startup of that, and we've got another 250,000 next year to see if we can help people who might be asset rich in terms of property, but cash strapped in terms of doing them up. Perhaps we can help that process happen and for the scheme to replenish itself.
Supplementary questions, Senator?
Thank you, sir. In my head, I visualised the monument to Government of Jersey's empty properties, which is Westerway Court, which has been lying empty for a very substantial period of time and is due to be empty for much more time. Would the Minister agree that the government's management of its portfolio in recent years has been particularly poor, and that in the future we should not be letting buildings like this, where there's a substantial amount of space for apartments for people to live in, to lie empty for such a long time, even if that means coming up with temporary uses for them in the meantime?
Well, yes, I've said before, I believe there's a structural issue here, there's a structural failure, and this is not, I repeat, not the fault of government agencies. It's not the fault of the officers of property holdings who are working very hard with me, and I'm grateful to their expertise and their efforts and their energy. But politically, we can't be the monkey sitting there looking at two piles of nuts and just trying to decide which pile to eat first and dying of hunger before he's made that decision. And that's the game we're in. We have got to make decisions on some of these sites, and that's a good thing too. Whilst they then don't become available for a school, a hospital, or whatever, that clears the picture of the other sites that might be available. So that's what I believe we should be working towards, a complete change of culture in that direction.
I have Deputy Ward, Deputy IEA, and then final supplementary.
So I did have my light on earlier, but it's probably hidden by something.
It could have been hidden by any amount of kit. I'll add you to the list as you've had it had the light on previously. But then no other time for questions on this particular one. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. My previous question was asked by Senator Mesic, so some clear thinking around some groups. So may I ask the Minister, how has he prioritised the importance of empty properties against new builds? And does he think there will be a quicker response with empty properties that have planning permission, that are already set up to do that and really need refurbishment, above whole new areas of build? And how would he go about doing that as Housing Minister? Thank you, sir.
Well, I suppose I slightly prioritised new builds, but the work on empty properties couldn't begin until this year because we were at capacity with the team I've got available to me. But with the new housing strategy and regeneration team, we're able to start that work on the empty properties this year. And that'll continue, probably continue a lot better in the next few months because there'll be less political interference and the officers can get on with the job. And then when the new housing minister takes office, I hope there'll be an advance and something for him to action, or her.
Supplemental questions?
So I'm resisting the temptation to ask the Minister how he prioritises his nuts. But I'm afraid what I have to ask him...
Thank you for resisting the temptation.
Thank you, sir. I have to ask him, sir, I have to ask the Minister whether he believes that actually, particularly with state-owned and arm's-length companies, it is easy to make that prioritisation and just say, sir, get on with it and let's use these rather than building on green sites or building temporary accommodation camps. So would he ask the arm's-length organisations to make that priority right now? Thank you, sir.
Well, I think I've made my position clear on that in the nuts answer.
Deputy IEA.
Thank you, sir. Is the Minister aware of whether a number of these properties are awaiting planning permission to be developed? Thank you, sir.
Does the Deputy mean a number of empty properties that are waiting? Yes, that will be a category, that will figure.
Supplemental, Deputy.
Thank you, sir. And is there a backlog at planning which may be causing a delay to some of these developments moving forward? Thank you, sir.
Well, that's one for the Planning and Environment Minister. just to be clear, properties that are built to a certain degree do count in the figures. They might not yet have been occupied, but if they are at a certain level, they count as a property, a certain level of build. Anything with a kitchen is counted as a property. It might be one of those kitchens in a cupboard with a stove and a little sink, but that is counted too. And the work going on now is painstaking to establish exactly why, what is the reason for each property being empty.
Deputy Tadier.
Thanks, sir. And I hope I'm talking to the organ grinder rather than the monkey with this question, sir. The Minister will know that one of probably the most famous empty property in Jersey is in his constituency, and it's called La Folly Inn. And although it's traditionally known as being a former commercial property, it does actually have a cottage attached to it and probably an apartment as well, which is effectively state-owned and has been languishing. It's a historic building and a residential property which has been languishing for years now. Does the Minister agree that the first thing we can do to get these kind of properties back into the market is to support the proposition later this week that seeks to ask the Minister to carry on that piece of work to address and discourage empty properties?
Well, as I've said, I'm happy to accept Deputy Tadier's proposition. With Westway Court, that has at last been designated for housing and is probably best suited to key worker housing for health, but I'm hope that we have got some movement on Westway Court. La Folly, of course, falls with Ports of Jersey. They do have plans for the quays, the historic quays, La Folly, and what is behind La Folly towards the water, moving what is there elsewhere so we can use the full potential of that fantastic site with La Folly Inn. I've always said La Folly Inn must stay in some way as a facility to be used by the public. There's a tremendous affection for that building. And I think it should stay as a building that can be accessed and used by the public because they love it. But I've seen early plans that involve the redevelopment of that area and the refurbishment of La Folly Inn. So let's hope that that comes online very, very soon in the next session.
Supplemental, Deputy Tadier. Final supplementary, Deputy Moran.
Thank you, sir. And just very quickly, it is pleasing to hear that work has begun within the department. Is the Minister able to give any greater clarity around the timeline of that, assuming a new Minister would want to continue that work? Is there a kind of rough end date for when that work is to be completed?
Well, Deputy Tadier asked me to bring options by the end of September. His wording is generous enough to allow me, I think, to bring options on options if they're not all absolutely worked up by the end of December. But yeah, by the end of this year, we must have something in place because I want to use that 250,000.
Well, we come to question 6. The Deputy Tadier will ask the Minister for Infrastructure. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Further to a site visit on the 17th of November 2021 regarding the installation of a handrail on the approach to the women's toilets at Red Houses, will the Minister provide an update on whether this work will be undertaken, and if so, when?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. I can confirm, sir, that minor works to install a handrail adjacent to the sloped path leading from the pavement to the ladies' public convenience at Red Houses will be undertaken by a maintenance officer at the earliest convenience, sir.
Supplemental, Deputy Tadier.
So thanks. I don't know if the earliest convenience is a pun of some kind, but it certainly isn't the most helpful answer, sir, because it may sound like a small issue, but this was raised with me by a relatively elderly lady who is somewhat unfirm on her feet, and she noticed there's a handrail for the men's toilets, but there isn't one for the women's toilets there. And I was encouraged when I saw a site visit and a photograph sent to me by the officer on the 17th of November, but I've not heard anything since. So can the Minister say whether this will occur in the next weeks and the next months, or will it just be a case of carrying on at our convenience?
I'll avoid the pun, sir. Yes, there is a disabled toilet on site with a handrail. There is a there is a ramp leading up to the gents, which has a handrail. There is a gentle slope leading to the ladies, which at the moment doesn't have a handrail. There's, I believe, flower bed and privet hedges to one side. It's a gentle slope, but it has been recognised by the department that a handrail would be beneficial. The work has been authorised and should be happening, hopefully, within the next few weeks, sir.
We come now to question 7. The Deputy Pamphlet will ask the same Minister. Deputy.
Thank you, sir. May I first start by thanking you for your words about our late Conotop this morning. It was pitch perfect, as always. Thank you, sir. Question, sir. Will the Minister advise whether all the issues raised in respect of the works being undertaken to develop Clinic Penel have been resolved, and when will the island have a completed, fit-for-purpose, inpatient mental health facility in place?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Officers, sir, are continuing to work closely with the contractor to resolve the challenges associated with the refurbishment of Clinic Penel. I thank Deputy Pamplin and Deputy Lehegra for accompanying me on the site visit held on 4th of April. I trust this allowed them the opportunity to see how committed both contractor and my officers are to completing this project as soon as possible. I remain hopeful that the revised target date for completion of September 2022 can be achieved. Thanks, sir.
I thank the Minister for his question, and of course we have released today our mental health review, which features all the findings which members of the public and members here can read. But as the Minister knows, and as he explained to us, the contractors, this delay date continues to be pushed back. And sir, does the Minister really believe that this will be completed by September, or the January date that was discussed on site when we visited? Thank you, sir.
Indeed, sir. The contractors have been hampered by various things, sir. A very large JEC main had to be moved, and we've had a really awful winter, and it's been very difficult to work outside. I know the contractors have had problems. One of the contractors was actually hospitalised. He was taken ill for working through the inclement weather. But we are committed to opening by September. There will be a phased opening of various parts of the establishment, but to be completed by September. Thank you, sir.
Very well, we come now to question 8. The Deputy Truscott will ask the Minister for Infrastructure. Deputy Truscott.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise how often the railway walk should be resurfaced in accordance with the current maintenance regime, and state when it was last resurfaced? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Major resurfacing work falls out of the landscape maintenance contract. The last major resurfacing work was carried out to the western end approximately 8 years ago. With the laying of the new gas main along the railway walk now mostly complete, officers are preparing for resurfacing work to take place this coming winter. Thanks, sir.
Supplemental question, sir?
Yes, thank you, sir, and I thank the Minister for his reply. But, sir, the reality is that the railway walk surface has been poorly maintained over the years and consequently continues to deteriorate. So this is another example of a poorly maintained public asset. Is there anything the Minister can do in the last month or so of his tenure to remedy this unsatisfactory situation? Thank you, sir.
So the railway walk is patched as required, but actual resurfacing of the whole railway walk, that will take place in the winter because unlike other services, hogging has to be done and rolled in damp conditions to make sure it compacts properly. It cannot be done in the summer because it's far too powdery. But it will be done this winter, sir, and contracts will be going out for that work.
Somebody need to answer that? Thank you for the contribution to the Greffiers Fighting Fund. Very well. Constable Brown.
Thank you, sir. And with regard to the resurfacing of the railway walk, would the Minister confirm that when it is resurfaced, the proper falls and cambers will be incorporated to obviate the flooding which has arisen in recent times because of the poor cambers into the roads and paths of Kennervay Park, where residents suffered from water inundation? There was some remedying undertaken in conjunction with the parish, but I would like to ensure that that remains in place. And in addition, sir, there are areas of tarmac where the railway walk crosses roads which are suffering from root heave, and the Minister's Department have failed to react to deal with that over the past 2 years. And could I ask him to give some urgency into remedying that fault as well? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Indeed, sir. As I just pointed out, sir, the gasworks have been doing substantial works on Railway Walk. There was no point doing any serious maintenance until they finished. It is coming to an end now, which I'm delighted to say that all repair works will be undertaken. As I say, we have had substantial amounts of damage due to severe storms in the winter, which have also damaged the Hoggin surface, and that will all be remedied in the winter, sir, along with any tarmac as required, sir.
Supplemental question?
No, thank you, sir.
Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask the Minister, does he consider the railway walk to be a shared space for active travel? Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed, sir.
A little bit outside the parameters of the question, but yes, supplemental question.
The next, I think you'll find, so the next part is directly.
Well, that would be good.
Thank you, sir. Given that it is a shared space for active travel, on the resurfacing, will the Minister undertake to try and emphasise that shared travel space in some way? Because education on what shared spaces are is really important for the development of active travel. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I share the Deputy's concerns, sir. We do need people to look out for each other. Obviously, it's not possible on a Hoggin service to put in a demarcation line, nor would it be desirable. We do ask cyclists to beware of pedestrians and vice versa, and it is still a legal requirement, by the way, sir, to have a bell on a bicycle in Jersey. So a gentle ring on the bell if you're approaching pedestrians, and if they would step to one side and give them a wave, and be polite and courteous. It is a shared area, and we hope that everybody would get along. But as I say, because it's a Hoggin, we cannot put any lines down, and I'm resisting putting extra signs on the railway walk, as I'm frequently accused of urbanising the countryside, sir. So I'd like to keep signs to a minimum. Thanks, sir.
Much. Deputy Talia.
Thank you. Just because it's Hoggin, of course, doesn't mean that Hoggin the road is okay. So it is the last question time. We've got to get them in as much as we can.
Well, I think
but there is a question,
I
sir.
think you'll find that standing orders don't necessarily require you to get puns in at the last question time or otherwise. But if you'd like to ask your question, that would
So I've been reading the wrong copy of standing orders. I found an old copy of Deputy Duhamel's in the drawer, and it's clearly been amended, saying that you have to make a pun at every possible opportunity. So, but I will refrain. Insofar as that excess speed along the railway walk, indeed along any Hoggin surface, may affect the quality and the wear and tear of the track itself, can the Minister tell us whether there is a speed limit on the railway walk, particularly in relation to bicycles or even electric scooters, electric bikes, etc.?
Very interesting question, sir. At the moment, I'd say no, but the electric bikes are limited to speed. I believe it's 25 kilometres or thereabouts, but 25 kilometres per hour. But as I say, we do ask people to look out for each other and take appropriate speed. It's not very comfortable for a cyclist to doing any particular speed on a Hoggin surface, but a lot of off-road cyclists do use it. But shall we say the serious road cyclists tend to stick to tarmac when they want to get up any reasonable speed. But obviously, when I was a young boy, if you got up to 15 miles an hour with the wind behind you, you were doing well. But the modern carbon fibre bikes can do very excessive speeds, and we ask people to respect pedestrians and other users of the path, sir.
Supplemental, Deputy Taddy? Very much. Final supplementary, Deputy Tusker.
Yes, thank you, sir, and thank the Minister and my colleagues for asking the Minister questions on the subject, and I'm pleased to hear that progress is being made this year. The Minister did indicate in a previous question that alternative materials were being considered. Is that still the case? And perhaps he could elaborate.
We're always sort of looking at new materials there, but as I say, it is a hogging surface which has to be compacted when damp. It is quite an intense process, and we do have expert contractors that can do the work. We are always looking at new surfaces that we can use and special treatments to make sure the hogging stays in place. But at the moment, sir, it is the original hogging, I believe, that we are using. Thanks, sir.
Well, come now to question 9. The Deputy Pamplin will ask for the Minister for Health and Social Services. Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise what consideration, if any, is being given to improving the support and remuneration packages for health and community services staff in light of the immense pressures under which they've worked and served the island in recent years and the public recognition they have received during the COVID pandemic? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. As the Deputy will know, the question of remuneration packages for staff is a matter for the State's Employment Board, and I cannot speak for that board. But I do have information that all HCS pay groups have settled for 2022. The nurses are in the second year of a 2-year deal. Other groups are in a 1-year deal. And for 2022, all groups have accepted a 2.9% rise in salary. Nurses have had an additional day's leave before March 2022 and another day's leave after. All other groups have received 1 day's leave in the year, and a £500 non-consolidated payment has also been made to staff. But so the question also asked me about support for staff, and that I can talk about. And I'm very pleased that during the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, approximately 74% of HCS employees received a physical and psychological well-being check, and follow-up well-being checks and other support has continued. We also have a bespoke digital well-being pack for all HCS employees, and spiritual support has often been delivered through our chaplaincy team. There are regular mindfulness sessions, and the COVID-19 Bailiffs Fund, awarded in 2020, enabled a new HCS wellbeing team to continue delivering one-to-one psychological therapy for HCS employees. That was particularly to reflect on their experience of responding to COVID-19. And there is a rolling programme of mindfulness, resilience, anxiety management, and sleep strategies for all HCS employees. And so in January of this year, Director of Culture, Engagement and Wellbeing was appointed within HCS, and a programme of culture and engagement work is being rolled out that specifically focuses on recognising and rewarding employee achievements. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy O'Brien.
Yes, thank you, sir, and I thank the Minister for his detailed answer and some pleasing news in there. In spite of the things he mentioned, of course, some of them were put in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. What is his impression and his final message to staff to make sure these things are not reactionary, but they become part of way of life so people can have the support they need under challenging future demands? Thank you, sir.
Well, sir, as shown by our appointment in January of a Director of Culture, Engagement and Wellbeing as a permanent post, that shows that HCS is taking seriously the well-being and support of its staff, and this is not just a single COVID issue. Thank you, sir.
Senator Mezek.
Thank you, sir. Does the Minister ever have an opportunity to hear directly from workers for health and community services about the reasons that they feel, many of them may feel, under pressure, and what remuneration package they are given and how that affects that. Would the Minister further accept that it's all well and good talking about well-being and support for anxiety and all the rest of it, but often the cause of that anxiety is the troubles people face in their lives trying to pay their bills, and would looking at that not be a more appropriate thing to do?
Well, so yes, I do sometimes receive emails or have spoken to some members of staff about pressures. Rarely, I should say, about their remuneration packages. I imagine for that they would pass their concerns through their unions and professional bodies to negotiators, and that be dealt with at the State's Employment Board level. And of course our staff, and indeed all staff in the public and private sector, will be feeling the stresses and strains of the present time, the inflationary pressures, and we need as a community to support those who are vulnerable in our society. I would want HCS to play its part in that, but it's a wider government role and something that across the island we must not just forget about the vulnerable people, and even if not financially vulnerable, which the Senator might be meaning, those who might be emotionally vulnerable through the stresses of work, because I do recognise many HCS staff have, over the last 2 years especially, been put under tremendous strain and stresses, and I commend them for their response. They have maintained health services. We've rarely had to seriously limit what is available. We're in a good position in the light of COVID, and that is down to our hard-working and diligent staff, and I thank them tremendously. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary question, Senator.
Thank you, sir. Does the Minister ever hear the feedback that I know I and certainly others hear from healthcare workers, that the cost of living in Jersey, when measured against their remuneration package, they believe does not compare favourably to other jurisdictions, and does he believe that that perception may have something to do with levels of retention in his department?
So the Senator referred to healthcare workers, and so I thought by using that phrase he was extending it into the private sector, but he did refer at the end of his question to my department. No, my understanding is that the remuneration levels of employees in HCS are on the whole generally better than the NHS, but of course the costs these staff face in terms very often of accommodation or living costs are the greater, and that often makes it difficult to retain people who come to Jersey attracted by a financial package, a greater financial package they might otherwise earn in the UK, but costs are greater. So that is recognised as a concern. Insofar as concerns the wider sector, healthcare, yes, it is an area where pay is often low, but I do know that those organisations that pay well and provide pensions and good sickness packages and the like, they tend to do better in the recruitment and retention of their staff. And I think that shows that where employees are valued and their worth is recognised, because clearly caring for people in the community or in any setting.
I have to ask you to bring your answer to a close.
Thank you, sir. It is a difficult job and needs to be properly rewarded. Thank you, sir.
So I have Deputy Morel, then Deputy Dublé, then Deputy Tadier. No more questions on this particular matter. Deputy Morel.
Thank you, sir. May I check with quorum first, sir?
Yes, I think we're quorate.
Thank you, sir. Just thought I'd ask. Thank you. I'm pleased to hear of the proactive kind of stance that the Minister has taken on this matter. But is he concerned that the appointment of a director for culture, engagement and wellbeing may be seen by many islanders as just another layer of management being brought in as an answer to a problem? And will that director of culture, engagement and wellbeing be assessed, the success of their role, will it be assessed on a reduction in staff turnover? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
I feel I can't win sometimes, sir, because I'm either accused of having too many managers or if there's a problem, why haven't I appointed the manager to deal with it? So this is a person, sir, charged with a specific responsibility, but who works with the executive team, but with all teams in HCS to deliver and ensure that there's proper engagement and well-being is cared for. I don't know, sir, because that would have been a matter for his terms of employment, that person's terms of employment, as to how results are monitored. But certainly this is an active programme within the executive team, and we will certainly be looking to that director to improve the situation. And that one measure may well be the levels of retention of staff. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, sir. With many human resource professionals on island, can the Minister confirm whether he was able to fill that role, whether the department was able to fill that role with the on-island candidate? Thank you, sir.
So I think, sir, I'll need to come back to the deputy on that, if I may, sir. Can't be certain.
Very well. Deputy Doublé.
Thank you, sir. The Minister mentioned hospital chaplains as part of the support offered to staff. Are these chaplains in demand from staff, and are they able to meet the demand along with their duties to patients of the hospital? And are these chaplains remunerated, please?
So they are remunerated, and they do an excellent job looking after both patients' needs but also staff needs. As to the balance between patients and staff, I don't know, but I am not aware of any particular pressures that they have voiced, and they're a valued member of the team. I'm sure they would work well and pass on their experiences and any concerns about service to everyone within HCS working on well-being. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy Doublé.
Yes, please, sir. The chaplains, it sounds like a wonderful service for those who have religious beliefs. Is the Minister aware of humanist chaplains, and would he, if he's not aware, would he agree to look into some information that I might be able to send him with a view to having a service for those who have non-religious beliefs who would not feel comfortable accessing a religious chaplain?
So I should stress that the chaplaincy team would seek to work with anyone who might need their services, not simply those who might express any sort of spiritual belief. Their services are available to all. And I don't know anything about humanist chaplaincy services, and I'd be pleased to pass on any information to our team that the Deputy may wish to forward to me, sir. Thank you.
Deputy Tadier.
So does the Minister agree that the stark reality for many healthcare workers who might be thinking of coming to Jersey is that they look at the package being provided, they think 40% of my gross income is going to go to my landlord, perhaps more. 20% of my income is going to go to income tax, perhaps, roughly. About 6.5% of my income is going to go to social security. But that's okay, I'll have 33% of what I earn left to pay for the increasingly high utility bills, the food costs in Jersey, and perhaps some travel back and forth to the UK or elsewhere if I need to. And does he agree that setting up a director of wellbeing is probably a good thing to have as an ancillary service, but it doesn't deal with the core issues? And when we have something like Locate Jersey, which we pump lots of governmental money into to help the wealthy, the super wealthy, relocate to Jersey.
This has to be a question to the Health Minister.
It is a question,
within
sir.
the Health Minister's portfolio, and it's turning into something of a political statement. So perhaps you could focus it into a question.
Sir, by way of analogy, we have something called Locate Jersey, which we pump lots of money into from the taxpayer to help those who probably don't need the help to locate here so that they don't have to pay much tax. Whereas in reality, we need key workers in the health department. Could we set up something similar to Locate Jersey, but just for essential health workers, etc., so that they can be given help to find appropriate, cheap, affordable accommodation to allow them to stay in Jersey and lead fulfilled lives working for us?
So we do provide a relocation package and assistance. Is both financial and practical in helping staff move to the island. Accommodation, as the Deputy will have said, and we absolutely accept, is a huge issue for many. Not so much taxation. Most employees find themselves paying less in tax when they come here than they did in the UK. So yes, sir, this is an important part of the government workforce strategy that we need to house our essential key workers, and we need to make sure that we can retain them on island. That is about having accommodation available that is affordable to them. It's an ongoing issue which the governments will have to tackle for some time in the future. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental, Deputy Teddy?
No, thank you.
Very much. Final supplementary, Deputy Pampin.
Thank you, sir, and I thank members for joining on this question. The recent results of the NHS staff survey sadly was not expected, and there are echoes that we have seen here in Jersey. So my final question on this matter to the Health Minister is, will he say today how grateful we are for all their services, but they must be supported going forward, sir, in more ways than we are doing right now? Thank you, sir.
Sir, yes, I will absolutely echo the words of gratitude by the Deputy. We are grateful for how not just HCS staff, but all public sector workers have brought the island through the last 2 years. And the government has put measures in place to support staff. And I think one of the things we as a community, and that will include us as states members, must bear in mind is that when we are critical of other politicians and the policies that we have not been able to deliver, perhaps in the view of some, and about service delivery, that can upset staff, that can demoralise staff who are doing their very best to deliver a service. And when they hear at a high level services are being trounced as rubbish, when they are not rubbish, that will demoralise them. So I think we have a part to play in making sure we use appropriate language and targeting any criticism, acknowledging always the hard-working nature of our public service, sir. Thank you.
We come to question 10. The Deputy Morel will ask for the Minister for Treasury and Resources. Deputy Morel.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister advise whether she has any plans to disincentivise, apologies for use of that word, islanders from buying multiple properties in order to ensure that the housing market is primarily focused on providing residential homes for islanders rather than being used as a source of investment returns?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Housing is an issue that affects all islanders. That is why promoting a sustainable housing market is an important priority for this government. However, as is so often the case, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. As the final report of Housing Policy Development Board noted, moving to a more sustainable housing market will rely on promoting both owner occupation and renting. To do that, sir, we must accept that purchasing residential property as a source of investment returns is a necessity for a functioning rental market. However, at the same time, We should not accept property investment at any cost. That is why Treasury officers are working to implement CSSP Amendment 22 to the government plan, which seeks to introduce a higher rate of stamp duty on buy-to-lets, second homes and holiday homes. When brought into force, the higher rate is intended to help to reshape the supply and demand of the housing market. Buying properties is only one side of this issue. The other side is making sure that housing stock is utilised efficiently, and I'm aware that the Minister for Housing and Communities has also started work on options to address the issue of empty properties, as he mentioned in an earlier answer. We are not considering the use of any further tax levers at this moment, but will be exploring this issue in more detail as part of the review of stamp duty announced in the government plan that my successor as Ministry for Treasury and Resources will be taking forward. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy?
Thank you, sir, and I thank the Minister for her response. Would the Minister, I'm very pleased, the Minister's response, it is what I would have liked to hear, and I was wondering if the Minister would be able to give greater clarity on the timelines for that review of stamp duty. Thank you, sir.
The stamp duty, I think is what the Deputy is referring to, will be, we are committed to introduce a higher rate by the end of December this year, and any legislative changes will be included in the finance law for 2023. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Daddy?
Thank you. Has the Minister thought about what unintended consequences there might be of an increase in buy-to-let duty, stamp duty? For example, is there a risk that the buy-to-let landlord would simply pass that on to the tenant? Is there also a concern that it might create a two-tier playing field in so far as somebody who has lots of inherited properties that they already own, which they can rent out, would possibly be able to rent their properties out much cheaper than somebody who's had to buy 20 properties with this increased stamp duty rate? Are those kind of consequences and arguably distortions that could occur, have they been taken into account?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. That's entirely why we're doing the review, so that we can look at all the consequences and way forwards that the Deputy's mentioned. Thank you.
And so, supplementary, what is exactly the problem that the Minister is trying to resolve here in terms of buy-to-lets? Is it simply to raise extra revenue for the tax department, or is there some underlying issue that she has with the private rental market that she wishes to address?
No, sir, I don't have an issue with the, I don't really think that's a question for Treasury and Resources, actually, but I think the Housing Minister very eloquently outlined in an earlier question the situation with empty properties. The stamp duty is merely being introduced to make the system fairer. And as I said in answer to an earlier question, that we will have the answer to a lot of the questions the Deputy's mentioned by the end of this year.
Final supplementary, Deputy Rowe.
Thank you, sir. The Minister mentioned that she would expect that review and any consequences from it to appear effectively in the government plan for 2023. Would she be able to confirm, therefore, that if a future or the next government, if that did not appear in the government plan, it would be because the next government has chosen to withdraw it? Because currently the view is that it will go ahead. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yes, currently the view is that it will go ahead. I can't speak for the next government. Thank you, sir.
Come to question 11. The Deputy Southern will ask for the Minister for Social Security. Deputy Southern.
Thank you, sir. Given that the assessment for wrong question.
Yes.
Try again.
We're on question 11, Deputy.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your patience. Will the Minister advise why the value of the medical benefit paid from the Health Insurance Fund for GP consultations, currently set at £20.28p, has not been uprated since 2012, and why any changes since the benefit's inception, when the cost of consultations was split 50-50 between patient and government have not been linked to the retail prices index or the health costs index.
Minister.
The way in which healthcare is provided has changed considerably since the 1960s, and over the last 10 years there has been significant steps to modernise the way primary care is funded with the introduction of other types of payments alongside medical benefit. New funding had included JQuIF, a quality improvement framework, which is worth 1.8 million a year to general practitioners, and other contracts and services like flu vaccination, service hall screening, which is free to the customer, and telephone consultations and health access scheme, where at least 11,000 people on income support pay £12 appointment. My officers meet regularly with the GPs and the primary care body to discuss and develop the primary care services which will support islanders to achieve better health outcomes. Thank you.
Supplemental, Deputy Sutherland.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister bring to the States a report detailing the new methods of funding as compared to the 50-50 funding that existed 10 years ago, and in order that we may understand what's happened to funding of our primary health care?
Minister.
I think that's a job for the new minister. The Minister for Health and Social Services is undertaking a wide health review, looking at funding options and healthcare costs, and for the potential of new health access schemes. So there's lots and lots going on, but this minister won't have time to go back to 1960 and assess all the different ups and downs from there. But lots have happened in the last 10 years, as explained in my first answer.
Well, we come to question 12. The Deputy Ward will ask the Minister for Infrastructure. Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. So can I ask the Minister, will the Minister state the current uptake of the Under-19 bus pass scheme and outline what work, if any, is currently being undertaken to review the scheme and the success of its implementation? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Thanks, sir. It is in this somewhere, definitely. Thank you, sir. So there has been a good uptake for the Avanti 18 card launched on the 21st of March, which has now been operating successfully for 5 weeks. The total number of Avanti 18 cards issued as of 8:30 this morning stands at 2,280, with a further 19 to be processed. In accordance with the Deputy's amendment to the Government Plan, a review of the scheme will be presented to the Assembly by the end of September. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental then, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask the Minister, given that we are dealing with young people here, what work has been undertaken to find the most appropriate method of communication with young people to genuinely get their voice in the success of not of this scheme? Because there is a very distinct thing that we have to do there, and I think engagement with the Assembly, for example, has shown that we have to think of other methods of engagement. Thank you, sir.
Indeed, sir. Liberty Bus has been extensively promoting the Avanti 18 card, sir. And as I say, the take-up speaks for itself. It's been very successful. As it's only been going 5 weeks, the rollout continues, sir.
Sorry, sir. The question was about what methods for the review, not the take-up, the review. I think I made the question very clear in terms of what unique methods for young people will be taken for reviewing the success or not, sir. Sorry to be pedantic, but that's my job.
But the review will be obviously in the uptake, and obviously students will be interviewed whether they're happy with this, with the way things are running. I say this will be an ongoing, it will be reviewed by September. I don't have an actual list of what will be requested of people, but I know that Liberty Bus are promoting it. Infrastructure are promoting it, and I think schools are doing likewise, sir.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. And I am heartened to hear of the successful take-up so far. But I was wondering if the Minister could advise the Assembly as to why the decision was taken, rather than rolling over existing bus passes, which many students who were already using the buses had, the decision was taken to require students to go to the bus station in person with identification to pay the money, and often therefore having to take their parents, essentially making it more difficult to get the new bus pass. I was wondering if you could advise as to why that decision was taken, sir.
It's a relatively simple process, sir. It just needs the person in process because in person because they need a new photograph taken. It's a new card, and they need to be identified either a passport or a national insurance number, just so we can establish it is them, because obviously it applies to people of 18 years of age and under, and as the situation stands, that will expire when they are 19. So the age is quite crucial to be checked, but it is a relatively simple process, sir.
Supplemental, Senator Bezek.
Thank you, sir. Doesn't the massive uptake of this scheme already demonstrate what a success it has been? And on that basis, does the Minister regret his opposition to it when it was first proposed, and accept that the future for our bus service is actually to expand schemes like this in the future?
I was opposed to it, sir, because I didn't have the money. And I have introduced many things myself besides the Senior Citizens Pass. We've had the Disability Pass and the Disability Carers Pass, which I introduced last year. So we're all on the same track, I believe, sir.
Supplemental, Senator?
Thank you, sir. So I guess my question is, what's next? He's just listed 3 previous bus passes that were introduced. This scheme has quite clearly been a success. Who would you like to see it expanded out to next?
There's not much further to go, sir. I would like to see an expansion of the student bus service generally. I'd like to see more younger people on the buses, and indeed more people generally on the buses to cut down our carbon footprint on the island. So I would like to see the bus service expand. But as I say, the amount of people that are actually paying at the moment is reducing. So it will need greater subsidies if we go down this road. No pun intended, sir.
Deputy Tadier.
So the Minister will be aware, he's listed some already, that there is a disability bus pass. There is also something called a through fare, which I know that many people have been taking benefit of, which means that you can get from one part of the island to any other part of the island for just £1.75 with your Avanci card. And there is also, sir, now this great scheme which we found out has already raised £46,000 for Liberty Bus, but more importantly, it's given young people the ability to have unlimited bus travel service throughout the whole year. Does the Minister agree that these 3 Reform Jersey policy initiatives could actually be built on in the next government if we have the right Minister in charge, sir, to make sure that all sections of our society have affordable and very accessible bus passes of this nature, to get them out of their cars where possible and to get them using sustainable and active transport and travel, sir?
Well, I do believe that the correct minister is in charge at the moment. That's why he brought in the carers pass. So there's more work to be done, absolutely. And as I say, I would like to see an expansion of the bus service further north, south, east and west to really cover the whole island and get as many cars off the road as we possibly can and more people onto public transport. We've all seen the recent statistics regarding population. So I cannot build more roads wearing my other hats as infrastructure. So we need to get as many people as we can onto the buses in whatever that takes up. Thank
you. Supplemental question, Deputy Tadier.
I'll let the Minister off this time, sir. No supplementary.
Final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I had the Conotop St John indicating a desire to ask a question. That'll be the last before the final supplementary.
Thank you, sir. The Minister said that both Liberty and IHE are promoting the scheme. Can the Minister explain to us why the scheme isn't promoted on the buses themselves? I'd have thought that would have been a good place to start, sir.
I believe it's promoted at the bus station, sir, where people get on the bus, and because they have all the electronic screens at the bus station, and I believe it's promoted in schools as well, sir.
Sir, would the Minister agree with me that people like me don't actually use the bus station on all of our journeys? We sometimes get off in the parade and get on at Broad Street, sir. Using the buses to promote the scheme would be a good thing to do, in my opinion, sir. Would he agree?
And this year I'll point that out to Liberty Bus, who control on-bus advertising, sir.
Final supplementary, Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. And I'll return to the point about consultation with young people and listening to their voices as to the success of this scheme. Can I urge the Minister, sir, can I ask him to really take that seriously and find a way of engaging directly with young people to find out whether this is a success or not? And I'll make the point to the Minister, sir, that it's an absolute bargain, probably the cost of about 1 or 2 consultants. Thank you, sir.
I would agree with the Deputy, sir. It had to happen one day. It is an absolute bargain. Absolutely. £20 for a year. Anybody listening now, I'll promote it even now, sir. That's, if you're under the age of 18 and under, go along to the bus service with ID, passport or national insurance card and secure your student bus pass, sir. It's not just for school buses, it applies to any bus, sir.
We come to question 13. The Deputy Taddy will ask the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. Deputy Taddy.
Thank you. Will the Minister update the Assembly on the repair work needed by the Jersey Opera House, including the level of funding required, whether such funding will be made available, and if so, when, and when the anticipated work will be able to start and finish?
Thank you, sir. Deputy Morrell will take this question.
Deputy Morrell.
Thank you, sir. I thank Deputy Taddy for his question. Sir, the government is working already and has been for the past year with the Opera House Board to review the full scope of work that is needed to reopen the Opera House, which is, I think, in every islander's mind, an important historic building. That scope of work has been agreed upon, and it is necessary to bring the Opera House back into safe and sustainable use. The scope of work is expected to be cost in the region of £5 million. £2.2 million, sir, has already been secured for the project, and that was the original £2.2 million that initially came from fiscal stimulus, but then due to the ongoing length of the project, has now been sourced from other funds from Treasury. And we are in discussions with Treasury about the balance, which is approximately £2.6 million. There is considerable support across government for the Opera House, and we fully anticipate the funding will be forthcoming. Sir, I am utterly committed to delivering an improved Opera House to be open next summer. And the first phase of work, sir, will start next month with a target date for completion, as I just mentioned, in summer 2023.
Supplemental question, Deputy Taddy.
Yeah, first of all, thank the Assistant Minister for that helpful answer. Does the Assistant Minister agree with me that there seems to be a perennial problem with the Opera House? We see headlines every few years saying that there's an issue with maintenance, with funding, that it might have to close down, and that no doubt lessons have been learned. And I would hope that he can confirm in future that, on the one hand, a sustainable funding mechanism can be put in place so that when maintenance issues like this arise, which I believe is an issue for property holdings, the landlord, that we shouldn't have to scramble around for money to repair such a beautiful and cultural building. But can he also confirm whether or not that there's new thinking going on about how the Opera House might be managed in future, so that it can be fully utilised and perhaps in conjunction with the other arts and the other arts offerings in the island?
Thank you, sir. There's a simple and a quick way to answer this. There's no question in my mind that funding for maintenance of the Opera House over the past 20 years has been insufficient. It's quite clear that previous governments have not invested in the Opera House. Indeed, you can see that not just at the Opera House, but in many buildings around the islands that are state-owned. So the work I have been doing with officers has been focused precisely on the matters that Deputy Tadier raised. How do we find a sustainable solution for funding the maintenance of the Opera House so that we are not left in this cycle where nothing's invested for 20 years, then suddenly you need millions of pounds to bring it up to basic standards? These are health and safety standards we're attempting to meet here with this £5 million. It's not much further than that. So yes, we are trying to find a sustainable funding solution. And with regard to the use of the Opera House, I have been reviewing exactly how it could be used as we move forward. The one plus side, or there are two plus sides to this break in the use of the Opera House, in the sense it's been closed from 2020 due to COVID initially. It's been closed longer because we need to bring it up to standards, health and safety standards, and that work is ongoing, so that's one plus side. It is being brought up to standard. But the other plus side is that this gives us a break and an opportunity to understand how best to use the Opera House going forward. And it is a balance between attracting international standard artists to the island, as well as making it available for community use. And those are the two items that I've asked officers to look at. And those are the things that we are examining as to how best to match those two things, community use and kind of, high-class, world-class acts coming to the island. Thank you, sir.
Come on now to question 14. Senator Messick will ask of the Minister for Health and Social Services. Senator.
Thank you, sir. What plans, if any, does the Minister have to ensure that a suitable number of GPs is maintained in the island over the coming years so that all islanders can have timely access to their GP when they need to see them?
Minister.
Thank you, sir. Primary care is certainly an essential part of healthcare, and as Minister, I recognise the importance of maintaining a skilled healthcare workforce in the island. This includes all healthcare workers within and external to HCS. And as such, the Department has undertaken two concurrent pieces of work to support this. Firstly, the Health and Care Workforce Strategy, which will include the GP and primary care workforce. Secondly, research and the preparation of a report with options on sustainable healthcare funding for Jersey. And this piece of work will come before this Assembly for debate, that's the intention, and feed into the 2024 government plan. And so, as the Senator's aware, GPs in Jersey are private businesses, and as such, like all commercial organisations, carry out their own recruitment to ensure the sustainability of their practices. The private nature of the practices has enabled Jersey to maintain good access to GPs thus far, but if it is found that GP practices are unable to recruit, this will need to be considered in the pieces of work I've outlined. Thank you, sir.
Supplementary question, Senator.
Thank you, sir. Does the Minister monitor the numbers of GPs that there are in those practices in Jersey, and does he have any ability to anticipate future numbers of GPs, bearing in mind that as the years goes by, some GPs will retire and we may wish to see new GPs enter the system to maintain the access to primary care in Jersey. So what is his understanding of those numbers, the directions they're going, and what challenges he may need to help them with overcoming to make sure that we do have enough GPs here?
Yes, sir, numbers are monitored, and of course on a national scale there are numbers available as to how many people are entering training. But as to how many people are available to come to Jersey in the future, that's more difficult. I understand that there are still a good number of GPs, but the ways of working within private practice are changing, and as indeed they have in many other professions. So many GPs now wish to work either on a part-time basis or fewer hours, and not all of them are interested in the model of partnership that traditional GP practices have issued, and would prefer to be salaried and more flexible in that way. Like other professions have, I know this has been the case in the legal profession, the traditional ways of working have changed, and this is happening within the medical profession, and we need to assist GP practices to make that change. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Sutton.
Yes, sir. And I was very disappointed to hear the first answer aimed at 2024. Does the Minister not accept that we have shortages of GPs now? They have closed their lists in many cases, and we've got a list of some dozen or so potential retirees in the next year or so. Will the Minister accelerate his process to assess how we can deliver primary care in the short order rather than before 2024? That's too late.
So I do feel the deputy is being unnecessarily alarmist. We are working, have worked, and will continue to work closely with primary care providers over the recruitment of preventative services, multidisciplinary working within primary care. So, for example, sir, so many healthcare needs could be met by a visit to the pharmacy rather than a GP attendance, but GPs are also able to engage practice nurses or physiotherapists. We are also developing intermediate care services to support general practice by keeping people living independently at home. And we are, sir, in discussions, regular discussions with the GP workforce about the changing demographics of the island and their profession also. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental, Deputy Sutton?
Yes, sir. Surely one of the factors that should be involved in the short term is to plug the gap, because we're about to see our numbers of GPs absolutely sink through the floor, and that we have a matter of urgency if we are to preserve our primary healthcare system in some form or other.
I don't agree with the statement, sir, that our numbers are about to sink through the floor. What I do understand is that there are changes in this profession and that GPs who are new to practice are not necessarily wanting to work in the same way as those who are about to retire. And that means that, like all of us and all workforces, have to adapt. And those discussions are continuing as to exactly how primary care can be delivered in the island. And there's much work being done and has been done. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Just for the purposes of clarity, would the Minister advise the Assembly as to whether the number of GPs has increased, decreased, or stayed the same over the past 5 years? Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure about the last 5 years, sir, but my information from discussions last week was that the current number is essentially the same. What is happening is that GPs are wanting to work in different ways from those they had previously. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental, Deputy.
Thank you, sir. If the number of GPs is essentially the same, but we know the island's population is rising, does the Minister accept that means each person, each patient at a GP surgery is receiving effectively less of a GP than they did 5 years ago, sir?
Well, so that assumes that only a GP can provide health care. And as I've said, primary care is about much more than visiting a GP, sir. It's possible to receive primary care services through practice nurses, through occupational therapists, other therapies, and indeed, pharmacists are highly trained professionals who are able to assist to a far greater extent than I believe we give them credit for in dealing with primary healthcare issues. Thank you, sir.
Conrad Harbison-Bullard.
Thank you, sir. Given that on a recent routine visit to my GP, I was told that they were given only a day's notice to respond to a consultation on the care model. Would the Minister agree, sir, that it's important to maintain a good relationship with GPs if the numbers are to be continued, and certainly if GPs are to be discouraged from taking early retirement? Thank you, sir.
I entirely agree, sir, it is important to maintain a good relationship. And I know that in HCS we have regular that is not myself, but members of the executive have regular monthly formal meetings with the primary care body, and there's contact at all other times on a very regular basis. And I know that also happens in this customer and local services have regular formal meetings too. As to receiving a day's notice to respond to a consultation, I'd be surprised at that, sir, because the criticism that's often levelled at me is that the Jersey Care model is proceeding too slowly, so I'm surprised we're asking for consultations at a day's notice. But I can look into that if the Conatab wishes. But communication is important, and that is recognised and does happen, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental question, Conatab.
No, I thank the Minister for his answer, sir.
Deputy Taddy.
Thank you, sir. So I wanted to ask if the Minister would circulate the figures that he talked about in response to Deputy Morell. So I do have another question, but that's my first.
Well, you can ask a supplementary question in response to the answer. So,
thank you, sir. That's an aside. So it's my understanding that there is only one GP who's on the primary care panel. Would the Minister confirm what the total number is of that panel and whether he thinks it's sufficient representation that there's only one GP represented on that?
Yes, sir, I can circulate the detail of our records of the numbers of GPs on Ireland. I'm not sure what panel the deputy is referring to, though. I apologise.
So if it's helpful, it's the governance body.
The governance body, yes. There's only one there may be one GP, sir. That is the way the governance body is set up. So clearly, there is a representative of the GPs. Thank you, sir.
And so would the Minister circulate more detailed information about that as well, what the makeup of that body is and whether he thinks in that case there's sufficient representation for GPs?
I think the issue is probably set out in legislation, sir, but I will circulate the membership, circulate details of membership.
Final supplementary, Senator Mezek.
No, thank you, sir.
Very well, that brings questions with notice to an end. We move on now to questions without notice. The first period of questions directed to the Minister for the Environment. Does anyone have any questions? Deputy Ward.
Thank you, sir. May I ask the Minister, the latest IPCC report stated that current national pledges under the Paris Agreement are insufficient to limit warming to 1.5 degrees with no or limited overshoot and would require an abrupt acceleration of mitigation efforts after 2030 to likely limit warming to 2 degrees. Does the Minister believe that the 2050 target he is adopting is actually adequate? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Well, thank you, sir. Obviously, in responding to the climate emergency, there's no question that the evidence is fast amassing, that the situation is indeed as serious. And of course, we do rely on scientific advice. The proposals that we're going to go on discussing are aiming at becoming net zero by 2050 is in fact the target which was adopted at Paris, which of course, subject to the Assembly this week, the island is intending to commit to. That doesn't, now obviously in the future, we are going to discuss a roadmap. It's a roadmap and it is capable of acceleration and change in the future, and that will be a matter for future assemblies. But there's no question in my mind the direction of travel is absolutely right, and I'm confident that the proposal we're going to discuss is a really good start. But the Deputy is absolutely right, acceleration is, that will come from the science and will come from international agreement, sir. Thank you.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes.
So the IPCC report also states that the cumulative net CO2 emissions over the last decade, the last 10 years, are about the same size as the remaining carbon budget, likely to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. So 2050 is an unrealistic target. So can I ask the Minister, does he regret us moving from our 2030 target, as initially agreed by this Assembly, to 2050, despite the recommendation of the Citizens Panel? Thank you.
Sir, I think again, we're going to be having a debate later. I think there has been, some misunderstanding about this. I believe, and the advice I've had is that the roadmap and the targets we're adopted is more ambitious than the carbon neutral by 2030. And the reason is the carbon neutral by 2030 was based on the island engaging in carbon offsets. And of course, carbon offsets are not part of the 2050 net zero target. Now, I think, frankly, so the roadmap proposes that we will have a reduction of, I think it's 68 or 70% of our emissions by 2030, but it is open to future assemblies to go faster. But we have to recognise this has got very, very significant financial implications, and what the plan that we put on the table is based on the funds that we have currently available. But the door is open for future assemblies, and ministers at the next election can campaign for this, and I would, as a member of the public, I would support that. But we've got a good start here, sir.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. And an unusually soft question from myself, sir. In recognition of his last 4 years of work as Environment Minister, I was wondering if the Environment Minister would advise the Assembly as to what he believes are his greatest or best achievements over the past 4 years. Thank you, sir.
I'd have been allowed to answer that question, sir. And naturally, we all start elections with great ambitions.
It's a question directed to the Minister within his portfolio. I think that's probably right, provided he doesn't spend more than 1 minute 30 seconds on the answer.
And asked by an Assistant Minister. So that's the question.
Well, I don't think the Assistant Minister is the Assistant Minister of this Minister. Ministers can't ask questions of ministers. Assistant Ministers can't ask questions of their Minister. But Assistant Ministers can ask questions of other ministers, I believe.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, getting the Bridging Island plan through in a time of COVID emergency, I think there is that plan provides a really decent basis for the future. Producing a decent carbon neutral roadmap against all odds, I think, which has got real praise from other jurisdictions, and my Guernsey counterparts were full of praise for it. So I think, and not only that, but there are a whole wildlife law, but there are disappointments, and I'm going to flag this up. A new environment law for the future. There is a whole host of legislation, air pollution, noise, the lot, and that needs this future assemblies to commit to those resources. So I believe I've done enough. I would achieve a lot more. And I'll probably publish a report before I stand down, advising new members of what remains to be done. Thank you.
No supplemental. Deputy IA.
Thank you, sir. Does the Minister believe that petrol and diesel car advertisements should carry environmental warnings advising purchasers to consider walking or taking public transport instead? Thank you.
So I wish I could. I'm not the infrastructure minister, of course, and he's got the job of trying to separate the love affair that Jersey has with its cars. They love them. They're addicted to them. Now, as a society, we have to break that. And so absolutely, we've got money in the plans. The new infrastructure minister needs to have more funding. We need to do much more of that. Active travel, bus services, walking, and so on. It needs investment. And now I think the new assembly needs to recognise, and I'm looking forward to hearing the candidates in the election speak about this, and hopefully those will get elected.
Supplemental question?
Nothing further, thanks.
Can I just ask members, there are a number of members who wish to ask questions of this minister. There's obviously a limited time available, so perhaps members could focus their questions, perhaps, and only ask supplementals if they really feel the need to do so. Senator Moore.
Thank you, sir. Today, the Minister has lodged a proposition asking the Assembly to determine whether or not he should determine the planning application for the new hospital. If this Assembly decides that either it doesn't wish to debate the proposition, or the Minister votes, throws the or the Assembly votes against his proposition, I apologise, this is a slightly complex question, sir. what will be the next chain of events, and when will the minister's responsibilities fall away, and who
Last
to?
clarification though, when you say the Assembly votes against, do you mean votes that he should not exercise a decision?
Correct, sir.
Because the question is asking. Yes.
Complex, but I think the answer is quite simple. The legal advice available to me is that the powers that I have remain in force until the 27th of June, 5 days after the election day, because those powers are not lost by the incumbent minister until the swearing in of new members. Then those powers pass to the current chief minister, and the chief minister holds those powers, and the chief minister incumbent is able to exercise those powers. I don't know the date. I think it's sometime in July. So, thank you.
Supplemental, Senator. Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. What budget does the minister have allocated or under consideration for the retrofitting of our housing stock to the highest insulation standards?
I stand to be corrected, but I think absolutely zero. The regulatory system provides the resource and the expertise to assist people to do that, but the funding of our housing stock and the installation of it at the moment is the responsibility of landowners, including the states that own land ownership. And I think one of the choices we had to make in the carbon neutral roadmap is whether to invest in reducing carbon emissions or to invest in insulation, which reduces energy consumptions per se. And that choice was forced upon us because we've only got a limited amount of money. So I think, again, this is an area in the future, there's no question, bringing housing stock overall up to standard of insulation where we're well remiss is a matter for the next, it will have to be addressed by the next Assembly. It's been a great disappointment to me that the monies that were available to do that scheme, to assist households to do energy conservation, were in fact done away with and the budget taken away by the previous council and ministers. I inherited no budget.
Supplemental, Deputy Sutherland.
Thank you, sir. That says it all.
Honourable St John.
Thank you, sir. Will the Minister add his support to the forthcoming Alternative Transport Week between the 16th and 20th of May? And if so, what will he be doing to support it?
Oh, thank you. Well, I apologise, I wasn't aware of this. I had to confess that I had quite to have a few days leave, actually, in that period. But as the members know, I expect to receive the Planning Inspector's report on the hospital on the 13th of May. And I think it's quite likely that that's where I'll have to give my attention undivided, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental.
Will the Minister's department, sir, be doing anything to promote the Alternative Transport Week?
Well, I'm not sure I have a department. As you know, we're going to discuss by proposition later where the Environment Department was effectively broken up. I think at the moment it's the Infrastructure Minister's offices. That somewhere sits within IHE somewhere. It sounds to be a very good initiative to me.
Senator Ferguson.
Thank you, sir. Is the Minister aware that the estimated cost of changing the fuel heating system and the insulation of houses is estimated to about £100,000 a house?
That's right, you're aware of that?
So that does surprise me, that figure. I know that when the energy management scheme, which Deputy Southern's question allowed me to answer ago, the sums of money investing in boiler exchanges and installation were much more modest. I think in terms of probably 25,000, but I'll offer to circulate members with that information. I think it is possible to target the work. Where I think there is maybe an issue, and this is perhaps an issue for the for the network infrastructure of our electricity network is that in order to shift to electric boilers, there is an issue, a technical issue, I think, about the need to have three-phase power. And where that requires, that is really an investment in a network rather than in a household. And so properties that don't have three-phase power, I think there does need to be a programme in place island-wide to deal.
Supplementary question, Senator Ferguson.
Yes, thank you, sir. Is the Minister aware that the estimates, as I've said in the report to my proposition, the estimates for the cost to the economy of change of the net zero is something in the order of between 11 and 17% of GDP,
Well, sir, the Senator...
which is another...
I'm sorry, Senator, have you finished your question? Because...
Yes, I was just going to say that it's something between 500 and 800 million pounds.
Right. Minister.
I think the Senator's right. There is an order of magnitude cost in order to achieve net zero. There's no question that it runs into the order of hundreds of millions. I think I'd have to defer to my Assistant Minister, who's the expert on these statistical numbers, but it is significant. Whether or not it's 17% of GDP, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to say. I'd have to get those figures circulated, but there is a very substantial cost, which is why I say the £23 million that proposed to spend for the next 4 years, I'm afraid is not adequate to do the job. It is a start. It's a good start, and I recommend it to this Assembly.
That brings the time allocated for questions to this Minister to an end. And the next set of questions are for the Minister of External Relations and Financial Services. Senator Mezek.
Thank you, sir. Could the Minister give as up-to-date a figure as he possibly can for the total value of Russian-held assets which have been frozen in Jersey?
So I have no further update to that which I published probably about 10 days ago now, where the figure stood at over £700 million. Thank you.
Supplemental question. Deputy IEA.
Thank you, sir. On slightly the same subject, will the Minister advise whether there is a mechanism whereby the frozen Russian funds held in Jersey can be sent to Ukraine to compensate it for losses caused by the Russian war? Thank you, sir.
So there is no such mechanism in Jersey law. I'm not aware that there are mechanisms in any parliamentary democracy where that can happen. There is, of course, a live conversation amongst allies and those supporting Ukraine about whether that should be possible in the future to help with the rebuilding, but there is no such mechanism currently.
Supplemental question, Deputy IEA. Conectabus and Brillard.
Thank you, sir. Would the, in the light of the results of the French elections yesterday, would the Minister confirm whether he considers there will be any changes to the approach given to the fishing debates we've had in our waters with the French fishermen? Thank you, sir.
So firstly, may I offer the warmest congratulations to President Macron on his re-election, not only on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the whole government of Jersey. Sir, we do know, of course, that in running up to an election, tensions can run high. We are now in that post-election period in France, and it is right that we in the Ministry for External Relations continue to build and seek to enhance the relationship which was put under intense pressure post the Brexit agreement. Work is ongoing there. We know that there's the starting again of the Montreal Express later this week. That's news to be welcomed. And I hope, sir, that there will be more reasonableness and perhaps the desire to move beyond the difficulties that we've experienced to allow those two fishing communities in France and in Jersey to get back to working in a more collaborative way, which they historically enjoyed.
Supplemental question, Walter?
Yes, so now, what I would ask the Minister, will he please prioritise the plight of our fishing fleet, particularly, in his negotiations in the future? Thank you, sir.
So, contrary to some public comment, that is exactly what I and the Minister for the Environment has done throughout this period, and we will continue and will, as I expect would any successors do the same, sir.
Deputy Ward, I wasn't clear if you were asked. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, in his capacity as Minister for Financial Services, can I ask the Minister what action he has taken in the last 4 years to promote green investment in Jersey?
So hopefully the Deputy is aware of all of the work that we have been engaged with in the financial services section of the Department for the Economy with the Minister of the Environment and the net carbon strategy. Not only have we done that, but we've worked with the Commission and with the promotional body JFL, and they both have now strategies. They are members of the relevant green finance bodies, and there is a great body of work which the next Minister will be in a position to move forward. It is, in my view, and the view of my officials, and I think the Commission and the promotional body, green finance, ESG matters, sustainable finance are absolutely at the heart of our continued success as a finance centre.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes, indeed.
Can I ask the Minister, how do the investment agreements with the UAE, a large oil-producing nation, support Jersey's commitment to carbon neutrality?
So they're not mutually exclusive. Middle Eastern investors and families, like many families that we are finding, and investors across the globe, see the change that is happening in the use of fossil fuels and wish to invest in the future. We take the Emirates. The entire premise of the creation of the change in Dubai and the changes in Abu Dhabi is based upon the fact that they recognise that fossil fuels are a fuel and an energy source of the past, and they are seeking to prepare themselves for the future when we won't rely on fossil fuels.
Deputy Higgins.
Right, thank you, sir. The Minister, in a written question to me recently, failed to give an answer to the question of Russian assets that have been placed in or through Jersey, not just sanctioned assets, but other ones. And he stated that is not a figure that the government holds or a figure that would be easy to monitor. But then he says that the Jersey financial services industry has maintained a general view of exposure of the industry and continues to monitor that position. So will he tell members what the JFC's position is on that, how much Russian money is in Jersey, which has been sanctioned? Well, we know some of it's been sanctioned to date, some hasn't. How much money has been going through Jersey, Minister, from JFSC?
Minister?
So I maintain the answer that I gave to the Deputy in this place previously and have recorded in response to his written question last week. What the Deputy is asking for is the total exposure, I suppose, to any Russian assets or assets where there might be a nexus to a Russian UBO. For the reasons that I explained in my written answer, I have nothing further to add to that. I am, of course, publishing, so on a monthly basis, the amount of Russian assets connected with or held by designated persons under the Jersey sanctions law, and I'll continue to do so, sir.
Supplementary, sir?
Yes, Deputy?
Yes. Is it really that the Minister is embarrassed by the amount of Russian money that is being flowing through Jersey? And he won't give an answer because it is that embarrassing. Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm a politician. There's very little that embarrasses me. I really don't accept what the deputy is seeking to say for the reasons that I've outlined in my written answer. They're the reasons that I'm not adding to that answer, sir. Thank you.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Does the Minister accept that as long as Jersey does not implement EU sanctions against Russian individuals and Russian organisations, it is quite possible that there are sanctioned individuals with assets sanctioned individuals and organisations with assets in Jersey, and until he adopts the EU sanctions, which he's entitled to do so by law, it is quite possible that we will continue to be a place where those individuals can have their assets moving freely. Thank you, sir.
So I don't accept the premise of the question in the way that the deputy has just put it to me across the floor of the Assembly, or is recorded in his JP article this morning. So it is quite clear to me that being in lockstep with the United Kingdom in regard to sanctions is the correct constitutional approach, and is also means that we are aligning ourselves. May have been a little bit slow at the start, sir, but with a jurisdiction which is right at the forefront of the economic fight and ensuring that Putin's regime is not financed. I'm not sure, sir, if we are completely independent, that all of the actions taken by our continental neighbours can have that label attributed to them. So I think it is for our benefit that we are in lockstep with the United Kingdom, and seeking to be aligned with the EU would add nothing. In actual fact, there could be an argument that it would detract from it, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental question, Deputy Morell?
Yes, please. Thank you, sir. I would also like to see US sanctions implemented in Jersey, but we don't have that under our law. I will revert to my first question. Does the Minister accept that it is quite possible that individuals and organisations sanctioned by the EU could have their assets in Jersey flowing freely? Thank you, sir.
So I think there is, having given my initial answer, the Deputy will be aware that the United Kingdom, perhaps cognizant of some of the Deputy's arguments, have amended their legislation, we did not need to do this, to allow them to implement US sanctions and EU sanctions where they thought they were appropriate. So we could say, sir, that by aligning ourselves and remaining in lockstep with the United Kingdom, which is the correct constitutional approach for us, we are getting the best of all worlds. And I believe that we are aligning ourselves with a country, let's put politics to one side, but we are aligning ourselves with a country which is showing itself to be a very, very strong supporter of Ukraine, and ensuring that we are not used to finance the Putin regime.
Deputy St Mary.
Thanks, sir. Will the Minister advise whether the recent resignation of Lord Wolfson as Justice Minister in the UK, and as such responsible for Channel Island affairs, has that resignation had any material effect on the island's dealings with the UK, and is he aware of any information as to Lord Wolfson's successor?
So it is personally disappointing that Lord Wolfson resigned and is no longer the ministerial representative at the Ministry of Justice with responsibility for Crown dependency relations. We, as members know, welcomed him to a most successful visit to Jersey I think it was earlier in the year or last year, earlier in the year. He was an individual who wholeheartedly threw himself into understanding the constitutional differences that Jersey and the other Crown dependencies rightfully enjoy in our relationship with the United Kingdom Crown, and therefore it is personally disappointing. That relationship, of course, is picked up straight away by the Lord Chancellor. There is not, as I stand here, any indication of who might be appointed to replace Lord Wilson, as the questioner asked for. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question? Deputy Sub.
Thank you, sir. What proportion of the figure first mentioned by the Minister in this section of questioning and answers may be subject to criminal or money laundering investigations and therefore open to compensation or other?
So I'm not quite sure what the Deputy was asking in relation to being open to compensation.
Did you mean confiscation or compensation?
I meant compensation, sir. We have a fund which does allocate these sorts of funds that have been subject to criminal proceedings.
Criminal offence confiscation fund.
Compensation fund, yeah.
Confiscation, not compensation, yes.
So there are two matters. One is the amount of assets subject to the sanctions regime. That happens in a straightforward manner. The agencies, in this case, I think directly relating to the Deputy's question, that would make such a decision are the Attorney General's office. They obviously act independently and they're carrying forward processes that we would expect of that agency. With regard to the SACE, which was sought before the Royal Court, so that is an ongoing criminal investigation and it would be inappropriate for me to comment in that regard. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that brings the time available for questions to this Minister to an end. Third question period is directed at the Chief Minister. Senator Mezek.
Thank you, sir. Could I ask the Chief Minister what is the biggest challenge he believes that he will be leaving for his successor to inherit from him in July?
That is quite an interesting question, actually. I've tried to be anticipating some questions. That wasn't one I was thinking of. I think we leave the organisation and the island in a good place, and as with the objectives of any council ministers, including one before us and the one before them, etc., one always hopes that one leaves the position that one's inherited from the previous council ministers in a better place for the next council ministers to continue to build on. We will no doubt have debates around things like hospital projects and capital projects. I think the challenges we have ahead, I think housing we know we have to do more on. We have done quite a lot on it. No doubt I'll be asked about that at some point. And I think population controls and getting them in the right place and getting that developing properly and calmly, etc., will also be important. We know we have to keep a very strong eye for the next council ministers, particularly on things like cost of living. However, as we've said, we have also done, and those are very quick thoughts, as it were, but we've also said, as I said in my response to the oral question earlier, that actually we have made a lot of change and actually benefited a lot of individuals on the island, including those who earn less than most people. So.
Supplemental questions, Senator?
And thank you, sir. And I phrased my original question in a specific way to elicit the following point out of the Chief Minister. Is it his intention that it will be somebody else to inherit that rather than himself?
Sir, at the present time, I have no intention of standing for Chief Minister again, but, sir, that is at the present time. We'll see what the future Assembly looks like.
Senator Moore.
Thank you, sir. Given that custody time limits are in existence in other jurisdictions and, for example, are 6 months in the United Kingdom, does the Chief Minister think it is appropriate that a person can be held on remand in custody for a period of over 500 days?
Sir, on the basis that I believe this relates to an email that sent around to members within the last 2 weeks, which I believe is an ongoing matter and sub judice, I don't think I should be commenting on that, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental question then?
Thank you, sir. Sir, the question is an open-ended one and not in relation to a particular case. I think it would be appropriate if the Chief Minister could address the matter from a policy objective.
Sir, I really do think this is a matter that's potentially sub judice, and I will not be commenting, sir.
Well, going to Harbison, John?
Thank you, sir. Can the Chief Minister confirm why almost £200,000 has been budgeted for just 2 posts for a 4-month period for our hospital project?
So I'd have to have a bit more detail on that, but if, for example, sir, one of them is the consultant that has been used, and by that I mean that in all terms, because obviously medical expert, to, for example, do the clinical engagement. It is very much, I believe, market rates with huge experience has been brought in, and as we know, relative to the previous project where clinical engagement was an issue, there's been significant, and I would suggest far improved in clinical engagement, which has left the project going where we are now, sir.
Supplemental question?
Thank you, sir. So in May 2021, in response to a written question, we were told the cost of an interim was no different to employing someone as a project manager. Yet the budget figure, if you annualise it, comes to £352,500 per annum. Does the Minister still believe that it's the same cost employing an interim as employing somebody permanently? Thank you.
So I think it also depends on the availability of the professional experience. We want to make sure that we've got good people on the team, which I believe we have, because it is the biggest project this island has faced, and it needs to be moved forward in an appropriate way, so with that requisite experience.
Deputy Ash.
Thank you, sir. The Chief Minister, sir, remarked that he feels the island is being left in a reasonable place. Would he agree with me that that is in no small part to the efforts of the outgoing Treasury Minister?
Thank you, sir, and I'm glad to see a smile on the Treasury Minister's face. I'm sure that Deputy Ash will pay for that question later. But, sir, I think, just standing back, I'm sure there'll be other times to make these comments, but a short answer is yes, sir. And actually, sir, I commend everybody, not only in this Assembly, but also the teams I've had the privilege to lead, whether they've been from the public sector or political in terms of ministers, that having come through what I think are probably some of the most difficult times this island has faced for a very, very long time, that we end up in a place where we have protected lives, we have protected livelihoods, there is an economy that is left and is in a good state, actually. And actually, sir, the financial position is our reserves are higher, and actually for 2021 we've reported a surplus. And therefore, I think as custodians, we hand over to the next Assembly and to the next Council of Ministers a far better position than we might actually have anticipated when this all started in March 2020, sir. And, sir, the whole team should be commended, but obviously that includes the Treasury Minister, sir, and I hope we'll save her blushes at that point.
Presumably no supplementary, Deputy Ash. Deputy Aye.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister, as Chair of SEB, confirm that all pay negotiations have been finalised for 2022 and that we avoid the problems that incurred after the 2018 election with industrial action? Thank you, sir.
Sir, my understanding, and I'll look to my Vice Chair as well, hopefully he will nod, is that the only pay group that is outstanding is teaching, and other than that, everybody else has accepted the offers that have been made, and therefore, sir, I'm glad the Deputy referred to 2018. We had, I'm going to say 2 years backlog, roughly, of pay negotiations, and during what was obviously a difficult 2018 and 2019, we actually got onto the front foot. And also, for example, sir, we also dealt with things like the equal pay for equal value difference, which whereas previously somebody in one part of the organisation doing a very similar job might be being paid differently to someone else in a different part of the organisation but doing a similar job, broadly speaking, we've resolved that issue as part of the package that we put together. So, but to clarify, so the only one that's outstanding at this stage is teachers, is my understanding.
Supplemental question, Deputy?
Sir.
Deputy Tadier.
Thanks. So the Chief Minister is a member who sees the value, who is known for seeing the value in our interparliamentary and governmental bodies. And would he state for the record the value that he puts on our membership of the Assemblée Parlementaire de la Francophonie and the importance he sees it playing in the next term of the future Assembly?
I'm delighted to, sir, particularly as Vice President of the APF. But no, I agree entirely with the President's remarks that the APF, I think, is one of those valued bodies that we do belong to. I encourage any French-speaking member to participate if they can. I would actually personally like to see it given the same level of support, and that's with the greatest respect, by the way, to the support from the GREF. But I think actually from within the government position as well, there should be potentially additional support if we can, because not only, so for example, British Irish Parliamentary Assembly has a certain level of support that goes in. I always tend to think we should be doing something equivalent within the APF, because that it's about relationships not only at the parliamentary level, which is incredibly important, and the GREF do a fantastic job there, no question, but it's also then, it does assist in improving the islands and the government's relationships, and that's what we do, whether it's the APF, whether it's the regional side with Normandy and Brittany, and obviously that then feeds up to the national side. Obviously that also goes to the wider context of Europe, but particularly in the context of French as our nearest neighbour, and actually so the ability to speak to, for example, the representatives from Normandy in French when we're in the pub after the meeting or something along those lines, I think is incredibly important because it demonstrates that connection.
Supplemental question, Deputy Secretary?
No, thank you.
Deputy Sutton.
Thank you, sir. Will the Chief Minister ask the Head of Statistics, Jersey, to publish any figures he has related to the income distribution survey which reflect the state of the economy in the pre-COVID period?
I think I already have done so.
Supplemental, Deputy?
Sir, in that case, why haven't we seen it yet?
So, as we've said on a number of occasions, the timing of all releases from the statistics is under the control of the Chief Statistician and the resources he has available to make sure that the numbers he releases, he is satisfied of sufficient quality to be able to have a meaningful interpretation. And that is obviously his responsibility, sir. And I think we've had the exchanges, sir. I understand absolutely the position. I understand the frustrations from the Deputy and sometimes share them, but that is the position of the Chief Statistician, sir. And as I've said, I do not interfere in that position, sir.
So the Chief Minister's free.
Thank you, sir. Given that we heard earlier from the Environment Minister that it is conceivable that the Chief Minister will need to make the decision, planning decision on the hospital, would he confirm, notwithstanding we have yet to receive the inspector's report, that he will make that decision without further prevarication and cost to the public purse? Thank you, sir.
Apologies, sir. Can we stop the clock for a moment? Only because could I ask the Constable just to repeat the first part of that question? Because although I was listening to the Deputy when he was speaking, I didn't actually hear that question, sir.
Yes, sir. The Environment Minister suggested that if by, I think it was May the 6th, and I stand to be corrected on that, that the decision wasn't made by him for whatever reason, the decision would fall to the Chief Minister to make. Thank you, sir.
Well, the Chief Minister the Minister for the Environment loses any authority when the new state is sworn in. The Chief Minister then retains authority for all ministries until the new Chief Minister is appointed by the Assembly together with the Council of Ministers. So consequently, there would be a period, but it would be from a week or so from June, somewhere in June, if that assists you. And is that the question that you're asking?
It is, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I have to say I'm not anticipating being in that position, I would hope. But at the end of the day, one would always act on advice and speed if appropriate, sir.
A supplemental question, Constable?
Is the Chief Minister supportive of the proposed construction of the hospital at Overdale at this present moment, sir?
So I'm not going to say any more comments in public other than what I've previously said, and obviously what I said at the planning inquiry, which is that I am, obviously keen to see a project be completed, so we're actually started, given the, I think, significant issues that the island would face if it did not proceed to.
Deputy Gardner.
Thank you, sir. My question was very similar to the Conatab, but I would like to ask in different way. If the decision will not be made by the Planning and Environment Minister, would Chief Minister consider making this decision when the ministerial responsibility passed to him follow the election and before Council of Ministers would be elected? I mean, would Chief Minister consider to make this decision?
Sir, we're getting to quite a rounds of hypothetical questions, I think, so which I'm not terribly keen on entering, given what I would consider the sensitivity of the subject. The whole point, sir, is that as Chief Minister, if I need to make difficult decisions, I make difficult decisions. If they're part of my responsibilities, I will deal with them, and I will do it on the advice that exists in circumstances at the time, sir. So, but I think that's all I can say at this stage, sir, because I'm not anticipating being in that position, I hope.
Do you have a supplemental question, Deputy?
No, thank you, sir.
Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. Can the Chief Minister outline the next steps, not giving too much away ahead of his statement on Wednesday, with the competent authorities, ministers, and the handling of the pandemic as we go forward pre-election period? Thank you, sir.
Sir, in terms of next steps, there will be some announcements on Wednesday. And then, so really, obviously, we will keep a watching brief, sir, in terms of during the election period and until the ministers, competent authorities ministers no longer, or the present composition of that competent authorities ministers changes. The expectation, sir, is that there should be not too many significant changes during the summer period. And obviously we'll then maintain a further watching brief based on the advice coming in through to winter. My expectation, to be honest, sir, is that subject to obviously events happening around elsewhere in the world, that it will be very much focused on continuing vaccination. And I imagine that the technology will change, not in terms of medical treatment, but also in terms of probably bringing it in parallel with things like the flu jab, sir. And that what we'll have to then understand is what the age ranges are. That will depend on the advice that will be developed during the summer, sir. But
that brings the period of questions for the Chief Minister to an end. Next on the order paper, I allowed an urgent oral question to be asked by Deputy Pamplin of the Minister for Health and Social Services, and I will allow nominally 10 minutes for supplemental questions, which was the approximate time for questions lodged in the appropriate period. So, Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for allowing this question. This is in light of our mental health review and the information received very late on Friday. Will the Minister state the reasons for the sudden conclusion of the contract with a UK university for the award of an on-island mental health nursing degree, given the degree was only announced last year and started in September 2021? And will he explain what actions are being taken to mitigate the impact this could probably cause? Thank you, sir.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The Department was notified of the intention to bring the contract to a conclusion by the University of Chester in March 2021. So it is not a sudden conclusion as suggested by the question. The reason for the notice to end the contract relates directly to a strategic review and redirection of the focus of the university activity, which meant that the university wanted to allocate its resources to health education within England. I confirm there's been no issue with the way in which the partnership has worked, which has been successfully running since 2013. It's not the case that this course started in September 2021. What happened then was that aspects of the course, or the whole course, was able to be delivered on island, as opposed to the previous arrangements where some of the course was delivered off island. The regulator, the Nursing and Midwifery Council, is fully aware of the situation, and in terms of the impact of the change, no students have been able to enter new programmes run through the partnership with Chester University since January this year, but all students who have commenced programmes with the university prior to January will be able to complete their programmes and graduate with their awards from the University of Chester. And the process of finding a new university partnership is underway, sir. The contract involves a tendering process to ensure providers can meet the requirements of the on-island degree programmes, and we intend to secure another provider in time for the September 2022 start of a new course. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy Pampton?
Thank you, sir. I thank the Minister for his response. The use of sudden was the fact that the press release from the government was announced in February. The Minister just confirmed that the contract concluded on March. That is where the reference to sudden is. Was the Minister aware of any agreements going on in place, given the time frame of that decision to conclude so quickly after it was announced in February?
No, sir. As far as I am aware, we were not aware in February of the strategy being worked through by the university, which was announced the following month. So this is a decision by the university post entering into the agreement with ourselves, and we have been supported by the university throughout this transition. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Morell.
Thank you, sir. Would the Minister advise the Assembly as to whether there are courses available to islanders at a level lesser than a degree level, which are aimed at encouraging the professionalism of, or developing professional skills in mental health services, or is there only this degree course available, sir?
Minister.
I don't have the knowledge of the availability of courses to answer that question, sir. Mental health nursing is a specialism. To practice as a doctor or nurse in mental health, I believe that a degree is required. Now, but there may be other qualifications within the mental health field which set out alternative routes, but I'm sorry I haven't been prepped precisely on that issue.
Deputy Morell, supplemental question?
Briefly, yes, sir. Thank you. And with that response in mind, would the Minister advise us, the Assembly, as to what work is being undertaken to fully understand the range of qualification needs for islanders who are interested in working within the mental health area?
Well, so we are anxious to provide a fully comprehensive service in adult mental health services, sir. So this will include more than just doctors and nurses' posts. It will include therapists. It will include counselling courses and the like. So some of these courses can even be run by trained volunteers. They are low-level mental health needs which can be met by trained volunteers, are being met by trained volunteers, and there are differing levels of need for which different qualifications will be required. And in HCS and through our partners in the mental health field, we are seeking to deliver a comprehensive service. Thank you, sir.
One moment. Final supplementary, Deputy Pampton.
Thank you, sir. The Minister talked about the off-island need, but actually this was a 3-year full-time programme billed as a mental health nursing degree without needing to go off-island to study, provided on-island by a team of nursing tutors. Will the Minister confirm that this will still be the case? And if there cannot be a similar university found to deliver such a degree as so desperately needed on-island, what will be the outcome as he has been briefed?
So there are many universities within the United Kingdom that offer pre-registration nursing programs that lead to award, graduate status and professional eligibility for registration within the Nursing and Midwifery Council. As I stated, sir, we are in a tender process to agree a new contract with those universities that are expressing an interest, and I'm confident, sir, that we will find a replacement by September. Thank you, sir.
Well, that deals with this urgent oral question. There is nothing under J. We come on to K, and the Minister for Health and Social Services will make a statement regarding radiotherapy options for Jersey. As members will be aware, after the statement concludes, members can ask questions for up to 15 minutes. Hopefully the statement has been circulated to members. Has it been sent through the link also to those participating remotely? Emailed. It's been emailed. Very well. Minister.
So would the Minister wait a moment whilst we get a copy?
Yes, indeed. We'll just wait until there is a copy. Very well. Minister.
So, in February this year, in support of P 113/2021 as amended, in this Assembly I said I would commission a report to look at the range of options for establishing radiotherapy on island alongside off-island options. The possibility of offering radiotherapy on island is something which I had been keen to investigate. Work has been ongoing for some time to examine the feasibility of providing radiotherapy services here, and today I'm pleased to present the Radiotherapy Options Appraisal Report undertaken by independent consultants Inform Solutions. In a balanced way and taking into account the views of stakeholders, the report looks at the risks and benefits of a range of options both on and off island. It does not make any formal recommendations, but presents a number of options for further consideration. A copy of the report will be published on the States Assembly website shortly. Radiotherapy is generally delivered by a machine called a linear accelerator, or LINAC, which is housed in a 2-meter thick concrete bunker. As one would expect, the provision of radiotherapy is highly regulated because of its potential to cause serious harm. Treatment involves the calculation of an overall dose of radiation, which is then divided into smaller doses called fractions. These are usually delivered on a daily basis throughout a working week, and radiotherapy is normally provided on an outpatient basis. Currently, our Jersey consultants have access to 5 cancer centres in the UK that provide excellent care and treatment with good outcomes. Some 70% of our activity is referred to Southampton University City Hospital, with the Royal Marsden, a dedicated cancer centre, accounting for 22%. All have extensive facilities, including multiple LINACs. Jersey patients have the same waiting time as UK patients, although UK-based consultants would be expected to use their nearest cancer centre, and they may therefore have less choice than their Jersey counterparts. Radiotherapy is a specialist service which would not normally be available locally to a population of just over 100,000 people. However, we know that on-island radiotherapy facilities are something that many islanders would wish to have. It would allow patients to be in a familiar environment, close to family and friends, at what can be a lonely and anxious time, which can also impact mental health and emotional well-being. Treatment in the UK usually involves between 20 and 30 overnight stays, but sometimes it can be as long as 45 nights. We know that some patients choose not to undergo treatment because of the difficulties of travel and the strain of separation from their families. In considering on-island or off-island approaches, it's important to have access to demand and capacity information. And the authors of the report are complimentary about the quality and provenance of HCS and Statistics Jersey data. This has meant that they have confidence in baselining the current demand and cost data and projecting these forward over a 20-year period from 2022 to 2043. Taking 2019 as the base year to avoid any effects of COVID on numbers, 221 Jersey patients were treated and 3,121 fractions of radiotherapy delivered in that year. Projecting forward, the report suggests that radiotherapy demand is increasing due to an aging and growing population, not a greater incidence of cancers per capita, and suggests that demand will increase to 4,687 fractions by 2043. That figure excludes private patients and Guernsey patients. It also assumes that 20% of demand will remain to be treated at UK specialist centres due to the complexity of treatment and specialist equipment required. On the other hand, it is acknowledged that on-island provision may result in a higher uptake of radiotherapy as a treatment option for palliative care and for some breast cancers. When this is taken into account, the number of total fractions required by 2043 would increase to 4,888, of which 3,882 could be provided in Jersey. The report finds it unlikely that emerging technologies will significantly reduce the demand for radiotherapy over the next 20 years. At full capacity, after planned downtime, a single LINAC machine can deliver 7,500 fractions per year. This means that potential on-island demand by 2043 would only reach about 45% to full capacity. Even if all Guernsey and private patient demand were added to Jersey's demand, it would still not exceed total capacity within the next 20 years, but would result in approximately 85% utilisation. A positive factor arising from underutilisation is that waiting times should be minimal and less than current waits in the UK, with the prospect of improved health outcomes. In relation to staffing, the report suggests a partnership approach would be appropriate, given the challenges in recruiting to specialist roles, governance and regulation. There could be potential risk to any service if the Government of Jersey alone sought to recruit, retain and provide appropriate training and development opportunities within a small local facility. Therefore, a combination of Government of Jersey provision alongside a UK partner organisation from within the NHS or private providers is suggested as being more resilient. It's also important to consider one particular risk inherent in an on-island facility. With a single LINAC machine, there would be a high impact of an interruption to service due to equipment breakdown. Patients could suffer harm if treatments were postponed. Sufficient assurances would be needed from a UK partner organisation for prompt referrals off-island, with the alternative being a 4 to 6 week wait to join NHS service provision. It will be for the next Minister for Health and Social Services, Council of Ministers or this Assembly to decide whether to take forward any of the options to full business case preparation. Any consideration must ensure that clinical safety and the clinical outcomes that would flow from on-island care must be as good as, if not better, than our existing arrangements. As now, we must continue to provide islanders with safe, reliable and high-quality radiotherapy services. I realise this can be a personal and emotive issue, but I hope the objective analysis in this report will assist and inform any future debate on this issue. Given the report points out that any on-island option would realistically not be available until 2027 at the earliest, I am asking the HCS teams to review our provision with the aim of improving the experiences and outcomes for islanders using the current off-island provision. This should include consideration of additional travel support, varied accommodation arrangements and provider options, as well as approaches to improved palliative care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Minister. As I say, there is now a period of 15 minutes available for questions. Deputy Tadier.
Thank you. First of all, can I thank the Minister, those who carried out the feasibility study and those who engaged the stakeholders for the work they've done. Does the Minister think it's a reasonable statement, and can I thank him for the presentation that he gave to me and I know to members as well, that this report and very much leaves the door open for on-island provision if there is a political will, notwithstanding that there are options to look at as to what works best and that anything needs to be clinically safe as well. And that looking at it initially, that the cost doesn't seem to be as high as we may have thought, and that the benefits to on-island provision are still worth exploring.
Minister.
So I believe they are options that are well worth exploring. I don't think cost is an overriding factor here. I was surprised really that an on-island provision, it would cost more than what the present arrangements, but of course there are those benefits, and those benefits might include shorter waiting times, which would improve health outcomes, which would have an impact on perhaps ongoing costs, and there's just the convenience and ease of accessibility for islanders. So yes, I would agree with the Deputy, and I would urge that further consideration be given to options by the next Minister. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy Tadier. Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to thank the Minister for his team's work on this and Deputy Tadier for initiating it. My question, sir, is in relation to what came out of our scrutiny meeting and the outpatients outcomes that we do not do a good job of promoting. What would be his message to the future team on how we can improve that, the outcomes and the service and the experiences that the patients receive from these services in the UK? Thank you, sir.
I take it the Deputy may be referring to the experiences of travel and having to spend time in hotels or apartments, and we would certainly want to look at that. At the moment, escorts are paid for by HCS in certain circumstances, but not all. I know that does cause difficulty because, of course, everyone who travels has a story to tell and has is not in the best of health, and it would be lovely if we could provide companionship during those times. But of course that comes with a cost, which would impact on HCS budgets. So we must look at priorities and how we want to deliver that service and what accommodation we will provide and services within the accommodation, because sometimes it's all very well asking people to stay in an apartment for a week, but if they don't feel like cooking for themselves and they're just left to survive on takeaways, is that what we really want? So what options might there be to provide good, healthy meals for them? There are these sort of things that we would wish to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And will he also acknowledge in public and reiterate that the amazing charities on this island who do support the families with these travel arrangements are brought around the table that can help government and can be supported by government because they produce the much needed support and comfort that is needed? Thank you.
They do indeed. I wholeheartedly agree with the Deputy, and I thank the charities for working so closely with HCS and with patients in providing that valuable support. And they will continue to have a huge role to play. And they are aware and have been briefed on the outcome of this report. They were stakeholders and consulted by those who put the report together. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Sir Martin.
Thank you, sir, and can I thank the Minister for what is a very balanced statement. I'd just like to focus in on the difficulties and challenges of having only a single machine on the island, should that happen. And while some fractions are given on weekly or bi-weekly or even longer basis, many fractions are often given on a daily basis, and that's where the difficulties around having a single machine and the reliability of it is important. So does the Minister have any information or data on the downtime of the Linac machines when it comes to breakdowns and routine maintenance?
I don't have precise data, but the Deputy outlines a risk, and it would be possible for the island to fund 2 LINACs in the island, so that one might be available in the case of breakdown. But that is an expensive option, and of course would just increase the underutilization. But that is an option, a dual LINAC, and that is one of the options within the report. There are many options for consideration. So that could be taken forward if it was thought desirable, because I think there is built into that figure of an average 7,500 fractions a year, some time for maintaining and servicing the machine. So that's built into that figure. But inevitably, if we're planning for 20 years, there will be breakdowns in the machine because it's just, that's inevitable, one would think. The difficulty is servicing need when that happens. A dual LINAC could be the answer, or having an arrangement to take our patients temporarily but very swiftly to the UK. As to how often it happens, well, these machines are usually very reliable, and I'm sure there will be UK data I'm not at this moment aware of, sir. Thank you.
Supplemental question, Deputy Samad? Conrad Harbison, John.
Thank you, sir. The statement refers to numbers of patients in Guernsey. And could I ask the Minister to confirm what level of consultation was had with our neighbours in Guernsey, and if that included whether both islands could potentially back each other up with their own machines? Thank you, sir.
I had one conversation with Guernsey, but at the moment, they're not in a position to respond really in any way, because we haven't got anything yet to offer. And we must remember for Guernsey that sending their patients to Jersey, how different would that be to sending their patients to Southampton? For them, it's still an off-island option. So I think when we have something to put to them, that is when a future minister or council of ministers has decided to take something forward, then we can enter into meaningful discussions with Guernsey. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental, Conrad?
Thank you, sir. Sorry, the point I was trying to make, sir, was if we could work with Guernsey and use each other as the backup rather than patients travelling on a daily basis. Thank you.
Yes, that may be a possibility, sir, which I don't think this options appraisal has looked at, because, of course, that would need a political will in Guernsey to carry out the same sort of exercise that we have just carried out and decide to commission their own LINAC machine. But if in future discussions there was that political will, then that is a further option, it is true. Thank you, sir.
Deputy Pamplin?
Thank you, sir. Pre-pandemic, we lost Flybe, which was an essential route for patients and family travelling at low cost to Southampton to support their families. Can the Minister outline, as part of this work, what was looked at and those links, and the pressure that needs to be applied to find more supportive links to any of these areas in the UK for families at as low a cost as possible? Thank you.
Well, I thank the Deputy for reminding me of that, and that is one of the issues that I will ask my teams to look at immediately. The ease of transport to our UK centres to make sure that patients are not affected, their health outcomes are affected as little as possible by the difficulties of travel arrangements. Thank you, sir.
And will part of that process be the funding of the partners or the loved one of the patient? That cost will become part of the process as opposed to applying and appealing if that patient needs that support travelling for whatever reason. Thank you.
Well, we will certainly look at funding escorts. They are currently funded for persons over a certain age and children. Thus far, the policy has been that if somebody is is a working adult and is well enough to travel by themselves, then we would not pay for their escort. But I know that that has caused anxiety in the past, and this is something we will be looking at.
Deputy Tadier.
Thank you. Was the study able to identify groups of patients in Jersey who currently don't receive any radiotherapy treatment but who might benefit from that? And could the Minister remind us who those groups are and perhaps what kind of numbers they represent?
Yes, sir. There is one group in particular which concerned me and are able to access a service generally in the UK, but much more difficult from Jersey. And that is a group of people who are receiving palliative care. And there is a role for radiotherapy in palliative care. But of course, very often those people are too ill to contemplate travel off island, or knowing that their days are limited, they might not choose to spend weeks in a UK hospital or a UK centre visiting a hospital every day. They might prefer to be here with their family. So if we had an on-island provision, we would be able to support that group. There are also others with cancers who choose not to travel because they wish, for their own family reasons, to stay on island with their family. So obviously, if we had that facility here, that fear or that reluctance to travel away would not be here, would not be on their mind to the same degree. Thank you, sir.
Supplemental question, Deputy?
There is, sir. And was consideration also given to the current support that charities in Jersey give, in particular financial support, which often goes towards helping patients travel to the UK with their families, where that travel is and the costs that are associated with it, about how that the relationship with these charities and how those monies could be used in the event that there was an on-island provision?
So I don't believe the authors of the report looked at how the charities spent their funds or the support they gave patients. But that is something that I will work with the charities and look at, because I've said we will want to look at the support we give. So we know that the charities have supported patients. We'll try to find that balance between public funding, charitable funding, and ensure that as far as possible we give patients the best support we can off island. Thank you, sir.
Very much, Mr. Very well, that brings questions to an end for the Minister. Before the adjournment is proposed, could I just mention to members that, as members will be aware from the ruling that I made circulated, I believe, early this morning, I have allowed a proposition from Deputy Young seeking the expression of opinion by the Assembly relating to taking the decision for planning permission with regard to the new potential new hospital. The Deputy requires the permission of the Assembly to deal with the matter at this sitting and to shorten the lodging periods. So I'm hoping that the proposition, which I don't think as yet has been circulated, will be made available over the lunch hour so that that request can be dealt with before we move on to public business in the afternoon. So members will then know if a debate is going to take place and therefore prepare for it or not, as the case may be. So hopefully we will get that circularised to members over the lunch hour. It's already going round, I'm told, which is marvellous. So in the usual way, before we move on to public business, we'll deal with all matters where the indulgence of the Assembly is required to deal with it at this sitting. Is the adjournment proposed? Very well. The Assembly stands adjourned until 2:50.